soul.
Yeah, listen up. Let me say welcome, Hetty Poo, to all the Genesis family out there.
Sweet soul on Sunday, Mike.
Right up. Listen up. Let me say welcome and Hetty Poo to all of the Genesis family out there. It's a privilege and pleasure for me to be here again with you today. As you know, today is the People's Talk Show. And we mean it's the People's Talk Show. We're not going to say it's Heru's talk show or it's Sista Dion's talk show, but we say it's the People's Talk Show. And we have certain rules with this one, you know. No swearing, no bad mouthing. You can be passionate as you like still, but have a little bit of respect for people. And remember, we have young folks listening to us as well. We've got to show them that we have the ability to behave ourselves. And that's the truth, isn't it? That's the truth. So what I wanted you to do is to be as polite as you can. You're in tune to Genesis Radio, and it's the People's Talk Show. Hosting it today is me, Heru, and alongside me is Sista Dion. And I want her to...
Greetings. Yeah. Welcome to genesisradio.co.uk, and you are live on the People's Talk Show. Yes, we are live. First of all, let me rise up Mommy, who may or may not be in the house, and rise up to all the Genesis listeners, to the universe, to everyone and everything that has breath. I say good afternoon from London, Greenwich Mean Time. Hope you're having a good day. So far, it's very warm, it's very pleasant and balmy outside. Almost like a real summer's day. But, you know, that doesn't stop the stresses and strains of life still being there. But in the meantime, try to be as calm, cool and collected as you can.
Yep, and remember, cordial. We can, you know, sometimes things, you know, we get really passionate. And that's not a problem. We like to encourage passion. But when passion turns into disrespect, and you may feel you have to swear to get your point over, we don't entertain that. At least not on this show, anyway. At least we don't, because we don't really see adding bad word and and hatred in your voice makes intimidation. We're not here to. We don't want no one intimidating
anyone else.
Coming on, sitting down there thinking, let me go in and start rough them up. You know, if you're thinking like that, mate,
then your hypothalamus is well and truly scrambled.
And you're going to be waving the red rag, aren't you? So let's get it straight from the start. And if you don't wave the red rag, then no charging is going to be going on here. So what we want to do is to make things as cordial as possible, as lovely as possible, as friendly as possible, because it's the Genesis
and solution-based. Let's not forget that. We need solutions. With the angst and the passion things all well and good for a moment, but it doesn't solve problems. It really doesn't. You got to be cool. You got to be logical. You got to be analytical. You got to be reasonable and fair as well.
Yeah,
those are the things that get things done.
Yeah, these are good characteristics to have,
to develop. If you don't have them, cultivate them.
Yeah, don't feel ashamed. At least we as adults here, we can safely say that we learnt from a longer time that if you're cordial with people, if you develop the capabilities to handle adversity amicably, then you find that you develop certain characteristics which is second to none, which will help you through, and the very things that we're concerned about, and we're able to compete effectively in society if we have certain characteristics in order to engage. You can't just engage in society like that. I was thinking the other day concerning the politics and stuff like that. I mean, it's weird. I don't know if the diasporans got it worked out properly here. I think something is...
Are you going for your regular...
No. But I'm the same, because I have to highlight this, because I want to make a distinction. There is a distinction that must be recognised.
Okay.
Us
What's
in
that?
the psychological scheme of things, we are what we call diasporans, and we do say
Who
that.
says that we're diasporans?
Well, this is what they say, and we have to say because we
Who's they?
Although we are, look, listen, we are the black community, right? And we come from somewhere, right? We didn't just fall out of mid-air. But there's something wrong with this community. It can't speak the mother tongue from where it's come from. It has no psychological connection with it. This is a fact. So that's being that. And when we look at our behavior, we can also relate that to the fact that we have no connection to our beginning. We are asked to go on in life regardless of our psychological condition. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get on with it. That's not level playing field here. You see? So we realize...
we got boots, have we?
Well, this is what they're trying to say. So we don't want to take that kind of a line, because what we want to have this self-recognition is that as diasporans who are obviously, and we agree, there's a consensus on this, that we suffer from post-traumatic slave syndrome. And it's all in line with trying to sort out our problems in society, you know. It's all inclusive, because there we have.
It's not. I mean, we're naming it specifically for our community. Yet, I don't think it's arguable that every community has it.
Yeah, but at the same time, we have a special needs. It's what we call special. Not every community suffers from post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Well, I
and
don't know
there
about
again,
that.
we are asked to displace this or forget about it, push it to the back, and carry on, which.
Doesn't really make sense. First of all, to solve any problem, the first beginning is to accept there is a problem. Acknowledge it.
Well, this is what we're talking about. Is what I'm saying.
Acknowledge it.
So once,
but that's with everything. It's not just
but this
our
is,
particular condition.
But this is specific. And you know the reason why it's specific? Because no other culture suffers from this. They've never had their name taken from them.
That is true.
They've never had their identity removed. So we claim a special place in life. I can understand that, as we don't. Lines ain't even open yet. Let's take this call out. People's Talk Show.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the People's Talk Show with Heru and Dion.
Hello. Your mic. Hold on a second. I'm just recording as I'm. Your mic is not turned on.
Which one? My one?
No, both.
Okay.
Both of them.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna sort that out right now.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Is that better? I suppose you're not near your device right now.
Now it's
better.
There.
It's better.
Okay, thank you for that, Bertrand.
Yeah, it's better. It's better now.
Enough respect, Bertrand.
Thank you very much for that, Bertrand.
Yeah, and so now that I can make my contribution to it, I really like...
One sec, Bertrand. Bertrand, what we haven't even got to the topic yet. But anyway, carry on. Carry on what you're saying. Go on.
I like the way you talk about the afterlife and things. I'll phone back, all right?
Yeah, man.
I'll phone back.
Yeah, enough respect.
Thank you very much, Bertrand.
Thank you. Yeah, so...
Point, in fact. See that respect? Love that.
Yeah, so what I was saying about where I'm trying to go with this is to lay a foundation so we can, sensibly have discussion today. Because what we really want to talk about today is the knife crime thing that's been going on. So all my arguments were leading to that as responsibility, because we have to see where this responsibility lies, you see. And we have gathered some information, we've done a research on it, and and it's the emotion at the moment, it's the emotion about it. And
it's very high.
And you know
it's acute.
And I suddenly thought to myself, hang on a minute. I mean, I was with the feelings of the knife crime thing, but you see, I've heard it all before. And it's not something that we want to trivialize and like to say it's not. It's very important because people are dying.
Of course, not just people, our young people who are assaulting and killing each other. So
what I want you to do today is to see if we can have discussions around knife crime, a lot of other things, reasons why, the family, youth, all these things is very important because they all add up and they all are part and parcel of the same problem. We can give it one heading, family. You see what I'm saying? So
it's not just one heading though, Heru. Maybe that needs to be revised. It's also culture, government policies.
Well, political culture.
Political culture.
But
absolutely.
Which is this is another thing what we want to incorporate in the argument today, because it's also
and the media
as a result of the inability to partake in political culture. If we don't even understand the term political culture. So it's clear that we as a community are boxing blind. We are really boxing blind with all the problems that we have. And this is why I've started out trying to highlight that major problem where there's a consensus on the fact that as a group we are suffering. So we have to have a special place, not because we want to. We want to try to cut a special place for ourselves. It's not a matter of race first, because that would suggest that there's no problem. We're going to put our race first, like everybody does. But it's more than this race first. It's a race with an acute problem. And I know that the people in society don't want to even accept it, because they would have to accept a lot of things. That they were responsible for our condition. Neither do we want to, as a group, look like we can't do nothing else but beg, and we can't do anything else because of the trauma and stuff like that. And then we have to look to the Caucasoid to give us that redemption.
You're throwing out gauntlets now. You're throwing down gauntlets.
No. I want to keep it real. So I'm going to keep it real. Because these are...
Use that word.
Yes, yes, because... the nature of things as it is. I mean, you will see this when it comes down to knife crime. How they designate us, BME, black community. You see what I'm saying? So they can have a designation too. Not in tick for tat, but I'm just showing you we can look at it on a higher level.
Same playing field, even though it's not equal.
On the same stage.
It's the same stage, and the way how it could be looked at is that, imagine you've got something to hide. Let's throw some words in here now, some words in psychology. Let's look at the sadomasochist. Let's look at the homoerotica. Yeah, let's look at that.
What do you mean homoerotica?
Well, this is what I'm saying.
That's very essential, sensuous, or what?
Are two words which have been put together, not through my own making, but it does exist. Okay. You also have the parasitic nature of human beings. We all want to be consuming each other. Let's look at narcissism. That's a good Greek word. Head of the god Narcissi. Okay, he was a god that loved himself. He loved himself to the point that he would stay by the water and just admire his wonderfulness. Okay, he got killed in the end because that's also about the ego. Okay, that's also egotistic behavior. But those words are actually, I can spell it. IT, information technology. I can spell it.
Okay, cool. So can I.
Can't spell it.
No. Let's not. I'll spell it.
For yourself, my dear man.
Okay. So, with that in mind, you can introduce those words at any point you feel that they're appropriate, right? So
they're always appropriate because there's a the understanding of those words.
So we're dealing here with the mind.
The way the mind acts out on the stage that we're on now.
Yeah, but if you listen to my show in the week, that's exactly what that's what I've always been on, because I understand the brain. The brain is the 3-pound organ that is responsible.
It's response-able.
So really, if you look into proportion blame on your brain.
The way it's wired.
On your inability to change behaviour. Because once you recognise that a behaviour is wayward, there's no point keep on pointing out the fact that the behaviour is wayward.
That's my point. So we can all study the brain to the degree.
No, we study the brain. Right. So we're talking about solutions here. Mm-hmm. We're at the position where we can solve with our understanding of the function of the brain. So when we have institutions, we should have a lot of we should have psychologists there. This is why I said we would be have a study group on the post-traumatic slave syndrome, because this is a reason for a lot of our wayward behaviour. You can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
If you don't know if you're wearing boots or not.
And expect to
or know what the straps are.
And expect to get on, because we'll be acting out of concert. Our responses were going to be pure wayward responses, coming from... Look at what we're talking about.
Is very low.
Is
the
it?
mic is so low. Right. Could not be able to hear it.
Okay, let me turn it up from here then. This would do it here. How about some of that? Yeah. Ooh, it's all squeaky now.
Not coming through.
Whoa. What?
That's what I say. You're not coming through on the internet.
Not coming through on the internet?
Sound's gone completely.
Oh.
Problem with your mic. It cuts on and off, going from loud to very faint.
Oh.
Now the sound has gone completely. Can't hear you at all. Have no idea what the topic of the show is due to the sound issue.
Oh, we have to go and tell him, man. Something's going on. People are saying they're not hearing the show. I hope that is loud enough for you folks. I mean, boy, let's have to start shouting. I don't really want to do that. But, hold on. Yeah, I hope that's a bit better for you. Let me see. Yeah, you can still... Thank you for the texts anyway, to let us know on the quality of the signal. People are saying that we're not being heard on the net, so we've asked our engineers to come in and have a look at this. Don't know why, but the engineers are on it, so they'll get it sorted. I hope they might... Yeah. Text. Ooh. Yeah. Text. Yeah. Okay. Okay, right. Thank you. Yeah, the engineer's on the job, so hopefully you can hear me now. I don't know, as to the internet, I don't know if you're hearing us on the internet. It should be. Should be on the internet. Well, engineer's on the case anyway. I'll keep talking. Hope that's a bit better for you. So, and as I was saying, okay, let's get back from the top since some of you missed it. What I was saying was, as according to knife crimes today, I feel the emotion just as much as you feel the emotion, and I feel sad when I hear these things. And I was really, and there was a march as well, innit? Some parents decided to march against knife crime, and at the time they did that march, it was like it was a thing that's unique, and unique to us as a group. That's the way it came over, as though the stabbings were unique to us, and I felt, wow, why is it? And I was busting my brain to find out why is it that it is endemic to black people to stab each other, and I felt kind of weird. I don't know if you feel that way, and it almost feel as though it's a part and parcel of our culture, the way they were putting it. Until I read this this clip on, and it was called "Beyond the Blade," the truth about teenage knife crime. And I noticed the word teenage knife crime. And if that isn't tabloid sensationalism, well, I don't know. I think something is wrong here. It's not. Let's not take away from the fact that it's happening. If it wasn't reported, then it's a phenomenon, isn't it? Knife crime is a phenomenon. It's not something unique to the black community, but it's been made that way. It's a sad case when we have our children doing this, but it's highlighted more than it ever was back in our day. And could that be also a deliberate ploy to have the overemphasis on us to do what the government should be doing, or to plaster over the cracks that the government's inability, or whether it's done through austerity, where they're cutting all youth money for all youth program, cutting this, cutting that, and expect life to go on nicely after you've taken away everything from the society, our social abilities to generate for our children some sort of a leisure and some sort of feeling of belonging. If you think that because you think you can cut things, this is why the government is trying to I think the government is trying to use us in some way to plaster over the cracks. Now that because I also Googled the knife crime in Europe, and they said, this is what they say, that Britain is the most violent place in Europe. Britain, and I want to know. So when they see this statistics, even worse than Australia, they said. Now this is why I think all of a sudden we've got this sensationalism going on with knife crimes, so they can proportion blame. Again, I feel that we've been used as scapegoats here. Because actually, when I read the statistic, they said knife crime was actually on the way down. Violent crime. They didn't call it knife crime. They call it violent crime. But here it's been known as teenage knife crime. You see?
Youth culture amongst the young men has always had a violent reputation. Because if you go back like 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years, say 100 years, you'd find that they had something called hooliganism. They were called 100
years, you say?
Yeah, 100 years. They were hooligans.
What, in a football thing?
Not just football thing. Any kind of youth misdemeanors was called hooliganism. They just changed the words and the way it's said to describe the thing. There's always been clash of cultures, clash of peers on the younger level. before, you'd know more than I would about the skinheads.
Why is that?
Because you actually experienced it.
No, because I'm older.
The skinheads, you're just a little bit, not too much. The skinheads, the mods, the rockers, those were battles that they changed the name of, the fighting amongst young people. And don't forget, those young people used to fight among themselves. The skinheads and the rockers and the mods used to fight as well too.
But the question is, why should they though? This is what I'm saying to you. It's not like a feature of society where you expect this thing to be, really. Because if we look at the underlying problem, you've got the cuts, the austerity cuts now coming in.
Come on, 100 years ago, there was nothing for young people.
Yeah, right. And
you were subject to... They were stuffing children up chimneys at the age of 5.
But we're not talking about our culture there, are we?
But where do we live?
You see what I'm saying?
We live in this culture. We don't live in a separate one. We live physically in this culture.
But those are characteristics of another culture. But if what can we say our culture is? It has to be what they call West Indian then. Because we are from West Indian parents. And our people never send us up no chimney. But they did send us, my dad used to say, send us miles for water.
which was a study in all your emotions.
Yeah, before you went to school, my dad used to tell us the things that he had to do.
Yeah, and yet still we can't imagine no taps. Can you imagine no taps in your house?
Walk on
a mile, 5 miles to go get water before you even go to school. That's inconceivable for us who are born here, second or first filial generation. We can't conceive that kind of an idea. Would you try and think about it? Where would you walk? I suppose if you lived somewhere where everywhere in this country there's water quite a lot. Brixton Water Lane. It's not called Water Lane for nothing. Camberwell, which means water wells. Okay. Peckham...
There's a canal in Peckham, isn't there?
There's water everywhere. Blackheath. You wouldn't have to really go...
Well, we're all surrounded by water. That's what I'm saying to you. But
so I'm saying that the idea of walking like a mile to go get water would be inconceivable.
Well, but
over here.
But putting a child up a chimney...
That's a whole different scheme of things.
No, it's not really. Because I'd rather go up a chimney than have to walk miles. But
you wouldn't, because you'd get...
I'd be schooled in that, man.
No, but the thing is that you've got to look at your lungs. By the time you're 15, you're looking at your lungs as shot to pieces, and you haven't even held a cigarette yet.
But it's one and the same thing. I mean, would we call that child abuse?
It is definitely not loving your child.
I don't know, because sometimes in some cultures, the onus is on the child. They do most of the work. You see? So,
it still happens today. Look at how Mo Farah became Mo Farah, known to us. In his country, I've forgotten where it was that he's come from, he had to run for miles before school to go get water for his family.
Well, look at him now. He's a world champion.
Because of that...
So it can't be that bad.
Well, as you said, is it child abuse or is it survival? And the fittest person to do the job has to do it.
This is what I'm saying now. It's all of these connotations, what Europe decide to label things. That's why I said, this teenage knife crime seems to me to speak something else. And so what I want to know from you, from the listeners, is there a difference between knife crime and violent crime? Yeah, so the numbers are, let me give you the numbers. Numbers are
07931 276232. You can also text in on that self-same number.
I'll give you the number again. 07931 2762 and the 32. We're bringing studios. As Dion said, you can also text on that number. So what I want to know from the peeps is there a difference between teenage knife crime and violent crime? Because what I'm seeing here is there's a change. Why would they change? Why would they split violent to knife? I thought knife was a part of violence anyway.
Well, this is the equivocal language of English.
I smell a rat.
It's equivocal because
it's not even about English.
It is because those are the words they're using to describe. It's become a buzzword now. It's become a feature, if you like. It's the words that's put together to highlight particular crimes.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the act of them splitting that teenage knife crimes and violent crimes. Because when you Google knife crime in Europe, you get the violent crime. But if you Google teenage knife crime, you would see you'll see teenagers in Britain. It highlights them straight away, not under the heading of violent crime in Britain, but teenage knife crime. So I don't know if there's been
maybe it's because I'm not excusing it,
Londoner,
but maybe it's because it's something particular to the youth, which it isn't.
No, this is what I'm saying. So
it isn't particular to the youth, but they just want to feature on that.
Well,
it becomes a feature for whatever the reasons are, nefarious or...
Yeah, but this is the reason why the book, I highlighted the book, or that the heading, behind the truth behind the knife, blade, the truth behind the teenage knife crimes in Europe. And they said it was tabloid obsession.
Tabloid obsession. Media obsession.
We said tabloid, actually. Obsession. It's something...
Yes, but if you look at that, I mean, for a start, not to take it down a particular path, but just looking at the symbology of a knife. Okay, knife is also symbolic of a sexual member belonging to males. That's why mostly...
You're going right into the psychology of a thing now.
That's why mostly it's men who wield this knife. Okay, this is why the young are like sword fighting. Hello? Do you see how it's symbolic of an act that is particular to males? I'm not saying women don't wield knives, but we definitely don't go and want to go knife each other as females. It's not one of the things that we do, because that's not how our mind works. We'd rather violate on a mental and emotional level. We bully like that. We don't do it on a absolute physical...
No, you rather poison people. There's a lot of females into poisoning, you know, so it's one thing. And semen, it's just the same.
It's violent
one
crimes.
And the same.
You still die. But what I'm saying is that is a different type, and I'm not wanting to differentiate, but it's just the point that when you say knife crime, you talk about young men.
You're talking about the psychology of it now.
The psychology is absolutely intrinsic, because if we, as you say, we understand how our brain works, what the knife is symbolic of, how that acts out in our everyday lives, how that acts out in the lives of young people, then like we're kind of like splitting hairs. We're saying one thing but not the other part.
But would we be right having a discussion on this?
On sword fighting?
No, on knife crime.
Sword, knife, sword.
When in reality, it's not... How can I put it without sounding like I'm, without anybody jumping on my case? I mean, because of the impression that we get there, it's intrinsic to black youths, right? We've got what we got the other day, the march.
All right, okay. It's not the first march.
No, but see, because of the...
It's the most recent one, but it's not the first.
Yeah, but without sounding like I'm negating or belittling, trying to deny it. No, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's over-sensualizing, but there is a little fly in the ointment when the government can't give us the statistics, right, to back up their tabloid claims.
It may not be readily available, but you can get the statistics through Freedom of Information Act.
No, even that they wouldn't.
Really, they wouldn't give.
That's what the brother said. He went on that, and the reason they gave not to give it,
right,
is because of it will disturb certain things, and it will cause,
So again,
this is what I'm saying.
This is where we're being treated like children when we're trying to solve our own problems.
I definitely smell a rat here.
But then again, maybe it would be good if parents could have the talk from a very early age about what the knife really symbolizes.
But do we need to have that though?
Yes.
No, but this is what I'm saying to you, because...
We do, because it's also an expression of emotion, fear.
All right, let's take Glasgow, for instance. Did they have this talk with their people? Where on a Friday night you expected to carry a razor, a cutthroat razor, right?
That's why they stopped selling them.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't go to Woolworths, or can't go there anymore, anyway, and buy a cutthroat. Whereas you could before, they were readily available.
What, cutthroats?
Yes, they were.
I don't remember seeing any in Woolworths.
I'm just being
I seen them
funny.
in the Navy shop.
Army and Navy shop.
Where you could
Where's the Army and Navy shop again now?
There was one in Victoria, isn't there?
There was, being the operative word.
Yeah, that's right. I don't see
not
that
there anymore.
No, because you can buy machetes.
Which you
Machete.
can't buy it anymore because, like, guess
Sheffield
what?
blades and all that massive blades.
Guess what? Because of the Brixton riots and Woolworths sold out of it, guess what? No more machetes on the streets
sale.
of London. If you don't have one already and keep it well hidden, there's no more opportunity for purchasing a machete.
I remember when the National Front was going to march down Brixton.
Right? And what happened? Woolworths all over the place sold out of
Blades.
machetes.
Right, and
Knives and every other kind of...
And they show how a Caribbean, a West Indian man, they called him at the time, could lay a cane piece in half an hour.
It's just about rhythm, isn't it?
Chop, before the cane piece fall, the top's off. so when they show that,
it's a bit scary for ones who feel threatened by
National
it.
Front change their mind.
But do you see how the power of showing someone something?
The media.
The power of the media scrambling the hypothalamus of those who felt big and brave because they didn't want collateral damage. They could have said, "Oh, let them young people just like go and kill each other."
And
they showed something instead that would
change their mind.
That would like make him think twice about: do I really want to get chopped up by a machete?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So why is that not being shown as an educational tool for our so-called young people who are on this path? And then, before we even get to that, we need to be examining what fear our young people are having that causes them to feel the need to have something to protect themselves on the street.
And it could be media obsession with teenage knife crimes. You see?
I would say it's more media obsession with that there's something to fear.
Well, what it is with that, in Europe, they said that Britain is the most violent place in Europe, right? Britain, UK. And I think this is an excuse. Because they want to show that it's a particular people that's causing Britain to be on that scale of...
Whilst they ignore the fact that this country, along with the one across the water, keep going to bomb other people's country and kill thousands.
Yeah, so it's a contradiction. A big contradiction.
We can fuss about what's going on domestically here in the scheme of things. That's kind of macro in a sense. But when you want to take a rocket and some soldiers and go and kill people in a different country, and you kill more people doing that than you do with knife crime, not to dismiss it or demean it or belittle it, there's a problem. Good afternoon. Welcome to genesisradio.co.uk. You're live.
Hi, Sista Dion and Heru. It's Berchan, and great topic. I've been listening all the way through about the knife crime and that, and the media. You hit the media. You hit it right on the head. I know that silence, but I had to break my silence. I had to break my silence because the media is the worst tool to make it that worse for young people.
One sec. Go on, Bertrand.
Like agents, the media is like a tool where they provoke people to more. They bring it more, so that these knife crimes, it will not go away because the media is promoting more, and their agenda is obviously getting these more young people into prison. And guess what? They're saying, I was heard the most silly argument. They're saying that prison is easy. Once they're inside prison is easy. You got your own flat screen TV, your own PlayStation, your food is so great. That is a load of rubbish. That is a load of crap. How can someone come out with prison? So that means I can go to prison now. I can do something. I can go to prison. Prison is not easy. Do you know the things that happen to you? I'm glad I've never been to prison, but I'm telling you, it's not easy. And they're coming out with this crap so that more young people can do the more crime, the more things can happen, and then they will get degraded afterwards. So what does that tell you? I mean, I'm talking this on a global perspective, and I know that's true, but what they're saying is, especially the media trying to push it up more, that tells you how bad it is.
Really?
and they push it so bad. Excuse me, don't want to go too deep, but they push it so bad they makes people want to do more knife gun, and they start to target now everyone. So I can stab someone, right, Heru, go downstairs, stab someone, and say, all right, I'm going to go to prison for life, or prison for 8 years. And prison is easy. You got your own chair. It's so nice in there. It's not easy at all. I heard from one presenter on Genesis, it's not easy. And the things that they do to you in prison, allegedly, the guards, the guards do. Not even the convicts, the guards do. So if people have this thing coming, then they've got to think again. But the media is so brainwashing. It's so bad. That gets me very upset. Perplexed. The fact that the media and mainstream stations do this as well.
Absolutely, Bertrack. I would agree with you on that. But also, what do you think they're afraid of out there?
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Like, one person carries a knife and they're going to stab, like, if they live in the area. And obviously they've got to carry a gun or they've got to carry a knife. So
hold on, Bertrack. Hold on, Bertrack there. They've got to?
Yeah, because...
No, what I'm saying is they don't need to. But there are some people in play that want to put this knife gun on. So now the youth has not want to, they shouldn't, but they got to, like, and this is the thing that I heard from arguments. But the argument is this, that there are some people in play, allegedly I'm saying again, play, who get these knives, guns, or whatever, they don't get hurt, and then they get in the hands of. Yeah? So if I was to carry guns and knives, I know that I would get taken down straight away. But there are some people that are not getting. So the big people in play, they get vanished. And so that becomes a more vicious circle. You understand? And then, what I'm trying to say here is that there's an unseen figure that is giving these knives, these guns, these machetes, or these big shotguns into the hands of these people.
Okay, Bertrack, I hear that.
So who's the unseen figure?
Yeah, but Bertrack, also, let's not look at it one-sided. If someone's to offer me a gun or a knife, I've got personal responsibility to say, no thank you. Why do I need that?
Yeah, but if the person feels that because of the media sensationalization,
so if they feel
people
threatened,
are walking. No, people are. What the media is saying to them, there are people in the community that are walking around with these things, so they've got to protect themselves.
From what?
From the other people that carry the tools. So the media has hyped it up a bit, as far as I'm thinking. Sensationalized, right?
Yeah.
But don't forget the unseen figure that brings the tools into the country and they don't get caught.
I hear that, Bertrack. I'm really listening to that. That's something that's taken on board. It's still, if it takes two to tango and one to lead. Just because someone offers you something and says, you know what, man and man wants to hurt you or harm you, so you need this, and I take it. Come on, we've got to apply some logic to it. It's not like someone's going around like, that guy that was in, I don't know, Spain or somewhere like that, then went and just went mad and decapitated the woman at the bus stop or whatever it was. It's not like that. We don't have like loads of people going around doing those types of things. That's like not usual behavior on the streets. So if that's the case, you might think, oh, well, yeah, if it's happening every day, 4, 5, 6 times a day all over London, people going out with big knives and chopping other people's heads off, that's one thing. You would feel a little bit apprehensive, let's say, depending on how much it's hyped up. Okay, someone doing that would be seen very quickly and arrested. No two ways about it. But that's not what's happening. It's like, oh, I feel scared, so to protect myself, I need to have this thing here, which is almost like asking for it in a sense, because you feel scared and you have something that can protect you.
This problem would go away if they really have to take it from the big source. The big source, like the protecting themselves and things. Before, I've never heard of this knife crime or gun crime. When I was at school, when out in '93 and all that, I've never heard of these stuff. I've never heard that someone bringing in a knife to school and then stabbing someone. I tell you this: a boy brought a knife into school, a big knife, and this was a special school. Boy brought a big knife to kill another person because of personal things. Don't want to go into it, but the boy got caught. Yeah, but he never got expelled. But our teachers were the police. Our teachers did such a bad word to him, such a hard talking to, not as in touching their hands or anything, but hard talking to about the dangers, the consequences. The boy said, all right, I'm not going to, because our teachers were the police. Our teachers, when they shouted at you, you would be scared to stop. But now, everything's going, how can I start it? The schooling system's gone, then it gets into the nice things. No one, and when the police punish these kids, they don't punish them, they punish them so badly, so it needs to go from the bigger source. If you want to take something out, like a virus, take out, so that then you wouldn't have this protection and thing. You wouldn't have it. First it started with pepper spray, then it started with knife, now it's going to go with gun, and then it started with gun, then it's going to go with a bigger thing. So what's going to happen for our future, for our kids' future, for my kids' future?
Bertrack, if this is what we're saying as adults, and I would think most parents, not all, but most parents would say that to their children as well. But also, here's a thing that was discussed that isn't actually being publicised too much. The fact is that because of the amount of children that they're taking in from places where there's been all kinds of atrocities going on, remember, some children have come from countries whereby they were given a gun and forced to shoot their own parents and families.
Yes.
They're in the mix with children who haven't had that experience. And if you just take a child from one situation and put it in another situation and hope for the best, then that's a little bit naive. That child would need counselling. That child would need particular things from the culture they're coming into to not feel so afraid.
I know that.
But that's not being discussed. Some of those things that are in there. And also, you've got the thing where they say
my child can come in
again that oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bertrack. I've lost my train now. Go on. Those things are not looked at.
I know. Those things, I understand those kids, where they coming from. They had to carry things. But it's the Western world that goes in these countries and start bringing these kids over here, bringing the Western people that do the European way, as the one said. Yeah, not the normal people, but I'm talking about the governments that want to, or the corporations that want to cause these wars, want to spoil their child's life, want to destroy other people's countries or cultures, where their mums would punish the children, where their mums would get counselling. They want to destroy our... Look at Syria now, and these kids are coming from Syria. Some of the kids are normal, but there are some that I'm saying an unseen figure who gives the gun into the person's hand, or who says, oh yeah, your family was this, your family... They're provoking the kid, like they're saying, pushing.
Bertrack.
This happened, and the child goes up and shoots.
Bertrack, let's take it to where the thing is, what we're trying to establish here is there a chance that with the sensationalizing this thing, it's not meaning to belittle the fact that it's happening, but by giving it the name teenage knife crimes or gun crimes.
No.
Really and truly, it should be under the one heading violent crime. And why are they making that sort of distinction between teenage knife crimes and gun crimes when all are one and the same thing? Violent crimes.
It's because they're provoking it. Does not understand. Especially they're saying, like, I hear, like, for example, black on black crime. They're provoking it. What I'm trying to say to you is, some people, they're saying, oh, black pedophiles, yeah? So they want to provoke black things. Yeah. They will always, they will do this. And and they get away with it. So it's the source, from the source has to be dealt with. and that is the media. I mean, dealt with accordingly. If they have to be arrested for this, then let them be, because it's the big bosses on the top that's dealing with this, and obviously they love to push it. And when you push something, when you push something behind, you scratch something from behind, obviously you're going to scratch more of the surface, aren't you? So if something's behind, and you scratch it more, and it comes from more, if you penetrate it, it's obviously going to come from more, you know? So why do they penetrate the behind? They shouldn't do that, should they?
Okay.
It's not allowed. I'll leave it
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Go too deep now.
Yeah, enough respect.
You know?
All right. Thank you, Bertrand. So
okay, the number is 07931 276232. If you want to call in and comment, it would be really good if we could hear from some young people.
The thing about that is what we're trying to really establish here is the obsession, or tabloid obsession, and the act of naming and defining certain things also helping to fuel. Because as a crime, it's no different from any...
Good afternoon. Welcome. You're live on genesisradio.co.uk.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sandra from Peckham.
Hi, how you doing, Sandra?
Hey, how you doing?
Not too bad. I'm just wondering, is everybody putting their complaint to Channel 5 not to let the next viewing go out?
Next viewing of
this young bloods and the gang culture on Channel 5.
Well,
I just want to know that everybody that's listening really needs to put in a complaint to Channel 5.
True.
I've already done mine, so
brilliant.
the more of us
That's
that put out the complaint,
I'm sorry, sister.
They won't hear it. You know, the young gentleman that done the video, he's asking people to see. It's a simple thing. It's just a little application. Put your reasons why you don't want it aired, and hopefully they won't put it on, because obviously it's damaging us.
So why do you think they should...
Europeans that don't interact with us, that's all they're seeing of us.
Exactly.
And it's detrimental that we do something about it and not sit on it and let it happen.
So you're saying you can complain
need to
to
be
Channel 5
for their children's behaviour. We're not doing nothing about it. I'm sick of it. I've been listening to Genesis and all the other channels for 10 years, and I am not saying that there ain't people out there fighting and everything, but it's not good enough.
So what do you...
Our children are dying.
Right, but sister, can I ask you a question? I mean, it says it's not good enough. I mean, is it as bad, or do you think that it could also be underhand by the tabloids to make things look worse than it really is? Because
how many black children have died this year? All those families are suffering.
I know that, and I do respect that. But what I'm saying is, what's the fact behind you don't want them to show this movie then? Why don't you want them to show this clip?
As the young man stipulated, he goes around the school and young children, and they think it's cool.
So is it that it's explaining their situations then, the events that's going on for them currently? He's got a good take on what's actually happening. Personally, not seen it. Don't know what it's about. Okay.
I didn't watch it. I was just told about it, but I just think in general, us as black parents, we're not doing enough.
Okay.
We're expecting the state to do it for us, and we all know that they're against us, and yet we talk about it, but we don't do anything about it. The organisations, the Saturday schools, 18 months they were asking for donations on the Black Parade. 18 months. And nobody wanted to put their money in. So we're not organising anything.
Yeah, all right.
We should have funds available for our Saturday schools. We should have communities set up for us to be able to go to. We should have... It's just ridiculous. We don't do anything as far as I'm concerned. We love to complain, and that's all I can really say, because, like I said, I've been in the struggle for a long time, and it just feels to me like, we're getting somewhere, but we're not getting somewhere because there's not enough of us.
Okay.
Not enough of us standing up and being counted,
Yeah.
you mean? There's plenty of us, but there's not enough of us who are standing up and saying, I disagree, I don't want this shown, I don't want things like this to be made about us, I don't want my child to feel afraid, Is that what you're saying?
This program, it's the amount of people that complain, then we can do something about it. But like I said, if we just sit on the fence and just complain quietly, then it's going to get aired. It hasn't been scheduled because they're saying they're putting another show on, but it hasn't been scheduled in their TV viewing because I know quite a lot of people have complained already. But like I said, the more of us that complain,
the better it will be. So sister, tell me, how is it with your children and grandchildren? Are they past the stage?
Oh my God, no. My son, he comes from a respectable family and he sees this gun culture as a great thing. I have got social services, I've got black communities, I've done my best, but it's like it's a growing thing.
Why do you think our young are so afraid? Because something causes this feeling. It doesn't just happen.
They've got no culture. They've got no culture of self. They see everything on TV, and that's it. What do they know? What do they know about our history? Nothing. I was late in life when I found out about my history, and I was actually shocked. And it's heartbreaking. They need to be taught about our history, positive things.
By us, right?
By us, definitely.
By us. Yet still,
definitely.
Okay, certainly, do you think the conversations would help in a healthy... Because when they're in home, I don't think a lot of children feel unsafe. So what is the trigger from the time you shut that door in the mornings when you're going out, feeling the need that you must have something to protect yourself out there? Where is that fear of each other coming from? Do you think that's transferred from the adults and the parents, that we feel in fear about each other? Do you think that's what they're acting out on the streets? Or is it something else?
I think it's the influence of the music videos, the food that they're eating. It's all contribution. Not enough parents really spending time and interacting with their children. All the factors.
Okay, what does it mean to interact?
Gun culture, music, we have to start getting rid of it.
What
we can't keep allowing them to be singing about killing each other. It's ridiculous.
What does it mean to
interact? They've done studies of children listening to certain things or watching certain things, and then they go out and gimmick it.
Okay, here's my question, sister. It's one that I've asked many times before. Who buys them the stuff that they can watch and listen to these things on? Who buys?
Like I said,
who buys the devices?
It's easy access, isn't it? Internet, friends. Like I say, the parents. We as parents, we're really not keeping on top of it, because if we was on top of it, we wouldn't be having these conversations. Yes. So it's down to the parents at the end of the day.
To what? Not give them these gadgets that they can view these things on in the privacy of their bedroom or wherever it is that they do it. What?
Yes.
Then how do
Definitely.
we get...
I know, children of 5 years, and I know it's good to have technology and children to be wise and all the rest of it, but they've got there's no parental control. There just isn't. They're watching. Even on the TV, everything's to do with sex. You can't even a yogurt advert. It's sexual.
Everything is sexualized.
You see, I can't believe how they're going around calling bitches and hoes. My son called a woman a bitch, and I turned around and said to him, "So, I'm a bitch then, because the first bitch you must know must be me, isn't it?" And he's using that, and he didn't even think about it. Oh, no, not you, Mum.
It's always the way, right? It's
unbelievable.
So, yet still, from the way you sound and what you've done with your children, you're not the one to be using those words. How is it escaping into his language to other people in your hearing then?
The music, friends, peers. My son is very easily influenced. I've had to be on his back for a long time. I mean, he's thank the Lord that he's, thank our Creator, our ancestors, that 3 years old and he's on the right track. But in his younger days, no, he wasn't. And I done everything, every turn. I was totally on his back. Maybe I was on his back too much. That maybe pushed him to doing it. I don't know. The absence of his father, which was very detrimental. And I think too many single parents and their fathers not caring, and it's down to the ladies that are laying down with these men that don't care.
Hold on, sister. I have to take exception to that. there's choice in both of them. The man chose to lay down with you. You chose to lay down
It's
with
the woman with the wound. She's the one carrying that child. So if you've got a whatless man, you know he's whatless, and you're going to have a child with him, what's going to be the outcome?
Do you know what, sister? I think that all children are blessings, no matter which form they come in.
I do. Oh, yes, I understand that. I'm not denying that.
To turn around and say it's the women who choose to carry.
About who you're laying down and who you're creating your children with.
But sister, you seem like a really decent person, and you've done everything within your power despite that. Okay, but this is why...
But my son had hang-ups, like I said to you. His father wasn't really around. He was in spirit. It had a lot to do with it. You know, he wrote a song, and he felt like he was abandoned by his dad.
Sister,
you know?
Sister, let me ask that question. Would you say you're one of those persons then that laid down with the wrong man?
Definitely, because at the end of the day...
Now, sister...
I never had no pattern. You know, he was a good man, don't get me wrong. He treated me right and everything. But as soon as the child came... I mean, throughout the pregnancy and everything, made sure I ate everything. As soon as the child came, he was up and he was gone.
Yet, sister...
You know, so...
Yes,
I knew his family, the background, all his family who had children, all the fathers were there. He was the only one that just went...
So he couldn't. He couldn't handle
responsibility.
He couldn't handle the child.
He couldn't handle responsibility, and the fact is that he went out and done it another 4 times with another 4 different women. Now the women after that, didn't even care that he didn't come to see his first child. They just went out and had children with him, and then now started complaining and saying that he's whatless. Excuse me, but he wasn't. You're the whatless one because you're the one that laid down with him, and you're the one that had the child with him. Because if I had known his background beforehand. There's no way would I have made a child with him.
Sister, I hear your passion and I hear your feelings for this. But, you know, sometimes those types of things transfer to the child. So once we've bought them, it's in our interest and the child's interest to kind of not badmouth the fathers.
No, trust me. Me and his dad, we get on. We talk and everything. I mean, we have our disputes and our arguments because I'm trying to show him that, you know, his son is calling out to him. His son thinks that he's a negative person. And as soon as I bring up these things, he goes off on one and says it's not true, you know. And I'm trying to tell him what his child's telling me. He just wants to be in denial.
Okay, so do you think this leads to the delinquency then? I personally, the spate of violence that I've seen, been hearing about, it could also do with people being more reporting it. But does those things lead to delinquency in a child? Do you think that your child is going to grow up delinquent because as a result of the man not being there?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a big factor. It's so important for boy children to have their father. I mean, the day my dad... I haven't seen my dad since I was 11 years old now. My dad was the king of the house. My mother never sat down and explained to me the reasons why. It was one day I wake up, my dad's gone. I was literally heartbroken. Now, for my brother, who comes from a family of all girls, it was detrimental. It sent him off of the wall. It sent him up the wall. He's now mentally unwell.
But does it affect your...
Before that, he was outgoing, you know, everything going for him, and then it just all went downhill.
So does it affect you in your relationships? Maybe, you know...
I miss my dad so much, but because I had a strong mother, she compensated for it. And as I said, I'm a girl, you know, and, you know, as much as I loved my dad, my mum was more the factor that I wanted to kind of be with. But I really did see growing up from my brother's point of view, not having his dad there.
But I'm saying, has it translated down in your relationships with men? In somehow, because
no.
It hasn't.
Are you sure there's no resentment or anger that
you still carry?
That you
I
may
would
feel
never judge a next
they may
man
be
on
feeling.
a previous man's behaviour. Never. I take them as all individuals.
But you said your brother suffered badly mentally, yeah?
Yes.
And you didn't.
Not like him. It affected me badly because, like I said, I looked at my dad as the hero. And then one day I woke up and he was gone. It took me a long time to get over it, but I was able to survive more than my brother. It didn't drive me so mad as much as it did my brother.
Okay, so your point is now you're telling the people we should all protest and not let this film go out because I understand. I understand what you're saying because it's true. Because this kind of negative.
My cousin, she goes to committee meetings now. She says black people, she doesn't see no black faces there. Her face is the only black face there. So how can we make or say anything if we're not turning up when they're making all these decisions? We need to get involved.
Okay, all right then.
Yeah,
so
thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
Thank you
And
very
keep up the
much.
good work. Like I said, I so honestly respect every single person out there that is really trying to make a difference. Because
Yes.
like I said, without you, we wouldn't be, going forward. So
For real.
bless up.
Bless up all the time,
Give
sis.
thanks.
Peace.
Give all the time.
Peace.
Respect. It's true. The negative stereotyping is another. This is the
still, it's nothing
media.
new,
I
Heru.
want you to read that. 'Cause
It's nothing new because do you remember back in the 80s and 90s, you could tell by the things that they said or didn't say on the news. Like if it was a man who committed a crime, you knew it was a white man. And if it was, you knew by the crime that was committed which particular culture engaged in that crime. Paedophilia, 10 to 1, it was a European. Muggings. Remember muggings? A black man mugged an old lady on the street.
So I think it's the media having fun with us, seriously. Because, again, the atmosphere or the environment where this is political culture is based in its values, its ways of life, are completely different from ours. So we've got to understand that. But we've got to partake in a society that's completely different from us, which is not a problem. It's not a problem.
What's more, enjoys promoting those differences,
yeah, that's
especially if they're not so good.
I think if we understand this, we will go a long way in solving the problems. As I said, I think there's a media obsession with the teenage, and they even labelled it because I think mainly because Europe has been reported to be the most violent place in. Britain is reported to be the most violent place according to statistics in Europe, and I think the tabloid now is rushing now to try and say it's only one group
named teenage.
Yeah, that's causing this.
We've not mentioned any colour before they call the colour, but now it's teenage.
We'll read a bit from that.
Okay, this is from the book, what's it called? Beyond the Blade. Okay, and it says here...
is it the truth? Is that the full title? Beyond the Blade. Is it full title?
I can't see the whole title.
Yeah, Beyond the Blade. The truth behind
knife
crimes in UK. That's what a book called Beyond the Blade. Truth behind.
Okay, it says here, the London Evening Standard in early March said that the peak age for knives carrying is getting younger, and it is currently between the age of 13 and 17. 13, and 17. You've got a group of people probably being influenced by their siblings, by their peer group, and carrying, which is not a good trend. That was said by one of the chief of police.
So much for his insight. A great insight, Chief.
Oh, and he goes on to say that Surrey police collected 237 knives, which will be used along with knives collected by police across the country in a 27 feet, sculpture called Knife Angel.
Now, why would you want to go do something like that now? Do you hear what you just said? They're going to take all the knives that they collected.
237 from Surrey, along with others from across the country, and make a 27-foot sculpture of knives and name it Knife Angel.
You see, don't forget, all the...
if that's not gratifying it, I don't know what it is.
Well, this is what I'm trying to show you. This is the best that they can do. So the thing is, I'm saying that if they can do this, instead of realising where they have failed by cutting all of the fundings to us, for our children, for our community, right? Cutting. And then expecting everything to run honky-dory, and the best that they can do, instead of getting rid of austerity, they can make a statue to enforce And they're going to
knife
say,
angel.
and
So what
put
does
it
that
up,
mean?
you know.
When you want a knife now, you go to the knife angel.
No,
knife
but
angel.
it's right in your face every day because it represents.
I beseech you to give me a knife.
No, but
I'm not
I mean,
making light of it. It just sounds
no,
ridiculous.
but this is the
Completely
best
ridiculous.
that they can do because the politics or the politicians can do in an effort to.
Well, let's face it. Politicians are not renowned for addressing problems.
Well, according to them, this is how the system runs. You see, so they're
not known for addressing problems.
Yeah, but
and anyway, they should lead by example if they want to talk about violent crime.
Well, this is what I'm about to say. So if the youths are funding's being cut and everything about the youths can't get anywhere to express themselves and get rid of all that energy anymore because the money's not there to even engage
that's
them.
what it says here. It says these deaths occur at the moment when the country has made a conscious decision to defund and under-resource its young.
That's right.
When you slash services, look at the note, the
slash,
ode
pun,
to knife.
the pun. Excuse the pun.
No, there's no excuse here. It actually is key.
Yeah, I know, but maybe that's what it meant. Yeah.
When you slash youth services, underfund child mental health services, and make swinging cuts to education and policing, there will be an effect. The most vulnerable will suffer. Austerity didn't invent knife crime, but it is certainly contributing to the conditions in which it can thrive.
You see, and this is my point. Instead of admitting that the cuts are responsible for the crime that we see today.
Yeah, it was MacGyver. I was right. MacGyver in 1977.
Oh, you saw him on?
No, I didn't see it here because I hadn't got. I watched the movie, the one who went on the hunger strike.
Oh, MacGyver, was it?
It's MacGyver. Yeah, it's MacGyver.
Yeah, you read about what it says about him in Scotland, right?
Uh-huh.
Because remember, read from the top. Because what they're trying to compare, right, is the Scottish community, which was very high.
Oh, this is different, MacGyver.
Yeah, it was very high in knife crime, but or they call it violent crime. You see, and they say it was going down, and the percentage that he gives there compared to crime in, let's say, in Southeast. I don't think you can make any comparison. I don't think we've ever.
There's also this situation here that I'm just reading is about when they closed the pits, wherever they were in 1992. Mm-hmm. Everybody suffered.
That's right.
With more than half the children in the town now living in poverty. Mm-hmm. So what it says is that poverty is a breeding ground.
What about
for crime.
poverty today? I mean, a child, when they leave school, right, and if they're still in education, that's why they're gravitating around education, because they can get money to get their 3 months to get their their grant every 3 months, and it's a good amount of monies.
And yet, still, if you look at it this way, as well, it says the knifing of a young lady called Leonie, her death attracted considerable attention in print, editorial of national newspapers. 27 stories appeared about her killing. Good afternoon. Welcome to genesisradio.co.uk. You're live.
Good afternoon, Genesis crew. I thought I'd tune in and listen to a part of the last call. And, you're talking about knife crimes and so forth, and I'm saying, well, I get it. I mean, there's a huge social engineering program going on. Parts of it you don't want to know and you don't accept, so you'll never know how it started, why it started, and what the effects are. But you'll lament about, the effects, which is okay with me. It's just that we need to know that there's a big picture going on here. Now, I was on the other radio station, and I believe I got hung up on. I don't know for a fact if I got my point, but when I went back to the laptop, somebody else was talking, so I thought, I must have got cut off. Oh, gee, Now, I'm going to link these points together, so bear with me. The show was talking about the election coming up, and the Lib Dems saying they want to legalise marijuana, and the guy thinks that cannabis' original name is marijuana. Well, it's nut. Right? So let's get that straight.
right? So the Lib Dems want to legalise cannabis. Now, he wants to corner the argument talking about the pros and cons of cannabis. That you can have that every time. An argument about pros and cons, health benefits, hemp, a competition for cotton. You could talk about strengths and depths of, but in a crucial election year, when I opened up, and I'm going to do it and say it again, because I don't know to talk about reparations, not that lot. I don't talk about it at all. If you're not listening now, right? This election, believe it or not, is about freedom and slavery. How so? Brexit is your opportunity to fight for your freedom, and therefore bring your reparations, or any other argument, and any other gripe, legitimate, illegitimate, or whatever. The EU, which all the other parties are for, enslaves you into the Rothschild EU cabal, which is what they did on the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union is not Russia. Russia was not the Soviet Union. Russia, under Putin, reinstated the Christian church.
So what about Rasputin then?
What about him? He was a Russian.
Was he a Rasta, wasn't he?
No, before he was a Russian, and at the time of the Bolsheviks, he was a confidant of Alexandria, I think it was, Nicholas's wife, and it was the Jews that assassinated the whole family, bro. Straight up. Read about it. I mean, it's a shocking story when you read how they call it pogroms when the people then get fed up with them, and the criminality and murderousness. But today, you can't even say what it is.
So how you
call it what it is?
So how are you going to?
I'm not going to mention it. Sorry, go on.
So how are you going to relate that now to our topic today?
Well, if you want to make a change and you want to fight for your cause, you can fight for your cause enough for your own house. But in someone else's yard, they don't care about your reparations, they don't care about your children. And if you think people over here don't care about your children, on the Eastern Europe they don't care about you at all. Do you understand? So you need to stand up for, ultimately, I'm going to say it, I mean, I've never voted Tory in my life. But they didn't expect to get this Brexit thing. You get pushed out. And you've got to hold our feet to the fire. Every other issue you can deal with after the matter. You don't. If you want to get bought because you like smoke cannabis and you think that's your way to be a happy slave on a plantation, by all means do so. If you want to vote for Labour because all of a sudden the nice fella Corbyn is talking about some things that should have been done under Blair, you can get all the sweetness you want, but you're going to be sweetened on a plantation forever. And then they've won the game. They haven't won the game right now. I tell you how you know that the you-know-who's ain't won the game. At this moment in time, you've got loads of money in your pocket. Pull out a fiver, pull out a tenner, pull out a 20. I know you've got lots of 50s. It says, I pay the bearer on demand the sum of, and it's in weight. You don't have that. They've got rid of it. If you could still take them to court. I know someone could say, oh, you can't take them. No one's going to, until, listen, a couple of thousand years ago, somebody died because the yet to be conceived will be that man. You can't tell what the future's going to hold, but you must at least leave the yellow brick road or the Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs so that when that man or that woman come about, they can lead the people. Or when the collective of people have got that collective consciousness to say, we've lived on this planet enough to know that war is, I'll give you another scenario. War is obsolete. It actually is obsolete. We've gone to the limits of war. The only wars that are being fought right now are bunkers wars. That's it. There's no cause for anybody to fight anybody else, but if you go and do your research on every bleeding fight and murder and slaughter that's going on, it's the same players behind it, making sure, shifting people off their resources so they can take the land and then say, oh, it's the Janjaweed or it's this and it's that. And then shifting old guns, rehash guns, arming some old Kalashnikovs and all. Listen, so when we come to talk about knife crime and children and so forth, there's no point in lamenting about it. There's no point in lamenting about any of that. Let's revisit what I said last time when we fell out. And I now know your position. I now know your position on the subject. And I don't want to hear the repetitive stuff that's well presented, but it's boring and it's repeated from people who heard other people make the same mistake. All right? a moratorium needs to be brought in. If you believe that the killing of your youth on each other and stabbing is of such proportion that it's just not like you, it's really out of control, and you can only see it getting worse, and you want a solution. If you want a solution, then, you know, and you haven't obviously got it, otherwise you wouldn't be going in about it. You'd be producing your solution every time you got your show. You need, and everybody needs to say, look, is it that bad? Do we like it? Is it how we were raised? Would we have solved situations like that? Number one, you need a moratorium. You need definitely in. Simple as that. These young boys need to see their young boys who went out there and didn't listen to mum, dad, and teacher, and thought they were kings and queens. And you know what a king can do? Anything he wants. You know what a god can do? Anything he wants. So you're dissing the god. How dare you? You're looking at me too tough. You're dissing the god. You're dissing the king. You're dissing the emperor, empress. This is the kind of nonsense that's been coming from these radio stations and filling these kids' heads up. And now they think they own the street. And they think that some other you that looks like them hasn't got the right to be around. And it's being played out for real. And you have to say it's on right. So now, if you really want solutions, it's not in isolation. So, contrary to what the guys picked up on, and it's not in isolation. There's a lot of things that needs to be brought in. But first of all, there has to be a realization of the social engineering program that's at play. Now, if we listen to what's going on and what they're teaching in universities and schools and colleges on why you've got this identity politics and political correctness, it's social constructionism. And the argument is that there is nothing innate in human beings. That's bull crap. That's absolute bull crap. And if you change any of your lecturers, they don't like you for it. They get up because they want to influence the youth. So I tell you how you know it's bull crap. Because put your hand back in using school, Heru.
Yeah.
And it's just lunchtime just finished. You're just sitting in. The teacher ain't come in yet, and you know people are settling down and they talk about what film was last night and the football match or whatever it was. You just went down to girls' school or whatever, right? Teacher ain't come in yet, and then one of your friends went in and said, "Fight, fight! What do you think is going to happen?"
The scramble. Everybody scrambled outside.
What do you call that? Herd mentality. It's innate with the human beings. It was a room full of starving people, and they threw in a loaf of bread. What do you think is going to happen? It is innate within human people.
So what's the solution, Elvis?
Sorry?
What's the solution? Because we can.
What's the solution?
Yeah, we can.
I'll tell you what the solution is. Because I am an educator, right? I will dedicate my time in for 45 minutes every Sunday, so that you can get a lesson. And that's up to the owner of your show. Because I'm tired of people cutting me off. And if it's not agreeable to him for 45 minutes, that whatever the subject is, I give you the skinny on it. And, you know, I give up and I just do one phone. I'm not offended. Just let you not buy it out and let me do my own thing. You know what I mean? But if I've got something to offer, I think that's one solution. If you have a solution, then it should be spoken of and it should be said. And if what I'm saying is so weird, somebody should be able to change me and say, well, I don't agree with you. I don't disagree with that. I believe in freedom of speech. But what I don't like is when somebody interrupts you, talks over you, slanders you, and ridicules you, and doesn't want to hear the explanation of the proposition I put forward. That's not learning. That's not educating.
I think you should have your own show, Reese, and I want to thank you for interjection, right? We've been saying this from the longest of time. See the CO, have your own show, and no one can interrupt you then. Simple. Problem solved. Yeah?
Not really.
It's solved, man.
Not really. I'll tell you why not really. Not just to challenge you. I'll tell you why not really. In the process of what you and I are doing, we are educating our youth in how to have dialogue. If you say, have your own show, and it's a monologue, it's a polemic, and then how do they know how to have dialogue? How do they know how to behave when somebody vehemently disagrees with your point? And makes a nice case. Yeah, but it's a plausible case.
Yeah, but you can't.
And I don't interrupt him or her, and I let them make it. I say, are you satisfied? Did I interrupt you? No. I'll tell you why you're wrong. And with the memory, which is something social constructionists don't like, right? You won't learn so bad. What is it? With the memory, you recall the point you disagree with 1, 2, and 3, and you go through it. And you say, that's why you're wrong. Would you like to come back at me on that? That's how we settle things. It's not, I don't like what you said, you disagree, well, I'm going to count it down. And all of that stuff. That's what goes on. We have to have dialogue on the radio, on stage, so everybody can hear it.
People's talk show. Okay. Allow that. Don't do that.
Something's rattling at your edge, so I don't think people want to hear what I'm not saying.
No, hold on.
What is that?
Tell me, all right, just read. So you made the point.
I did make the point. I thought maybe you wanted to say something, but if you don't, I'll leave it there then.
Yeah, you can call back later on, all right? Thank you, Reece.
Okay, cool.
Respect.
Cool.
All right, cheers. Yeah, thank you. You're in tune to the People's Talk Show. And, sometimes you just got to allow people to, have their say, because that's what it's all about. We're getting patient with people, but that's got, So you're in tune to Genesis Radio on this People's Talk Show. The number is 07931 276232. And I repeat, 07931 276232. We'll bring it into the studios. And we're talking
You can also text in on that number if you're listening. Tell me what to do. It's insulting. Sorry, I'm not listening. Spears. So knife crime is not different, and the fact that it's highlighted as a crime that happens amongst us. In Shakespeare's time, I don't think there was many of us around. So that would mean that knife crime is here. Maybe this culture breeds it. Maybe it's the feelings of angst and whatever it is that has to come out somewhere. And, the knives are the quickest things to have. How do we challenge that? With our own, that is many multifaceted. How do we get our children to feel safe in an unsafe environment? Maybe some of our fear is actually rubbing off on them. We're feeling fear. And fear isn't tangible. It's not necessarily, you can't hold fear in your hands. You can't make a cup of tea out of fear. It's just there. It's a feeling. How do we challenge those feelings in our young? The telephone number 07931 276232. So, Heru, going on from what we're saying, what's the solution? Okay, we've had it social engineering. We've had the fact that fathers are not readily available to interact with their children, particularly their male children. How do we change that? How do we get some male fathers to realise the responsibility of a child?
Well, it's come round to, again, the onus is on the parents. And I also think it shouldn't only be on the parents, because heard what the austerity cuts are doing. When a child leaves school, in terms of employment for the young, only on a low level, on I wouldn't say there isn't. A lot of young people are in employment and are doing very well. But I put it down to maybe there shouldn't be an overemphasis on us and our family, because we did when we were young, right? Because we were young once too, and I want to know if there's the differences between being young then and being young now. I don't know if there's a difference, because I don't see there shouldn't be a difference, because we're all brought up by our parents, and I know that some people may have had a real bad experience with their parents, and and probably hate it when we say, the father should have more input. If the father is abusive, obviously that child doesn't want that input from that father or that mother.
But I think, something, Heru? I have to disagree with you. Children only know their parents at first, and even when they're young and they don't even understand what's good and what's bad, they still want their parents. Both of them.
Well, I don't know if your parent's abusive towards the child.
You wouldn't know that your parent's abusive until you've reached a certain age and maturity. And even if your parent is not abusive in the same sense, a parent who's drunk quietly, are they abusive? I'm saying quietly drunk, not one that wants to be violent and beat the children and the mother to kingdom come. I'm talking about ones who just get quietly drunk and don't interact with the children the same way. They might grunt an evening or whatever, or a couple of words, do this, do that, what have you, without actually interacting healthily with that child. Is that also abuse?
Well, you got to find out where the violence come from. If it's not anything to do with family, where does it come from? On such a scale as the media is trying to say, there is no rise in statistics concerning violent crime here in the UK in the various communities. Does it involve one set of people? This is what they're trying to say. And as a reason for it, if we don't, as a people, they ain't got no idea as to where. If we can look into ourselves and see, then are we the problem? Because as I said, in comparison to when we were young, and we have to solve it, because if we go on and don't have a solution, or don't have an answer, and don't even have an explanation, and then that will make us like, we're boxing blind then. So the parents that produce these children, so they were children, we don't grow them up with violence. Is it to do with some of these games that are
as the sister said, that's where parents do have some control. That you don't have it in your house, and every time it's played or aired, you say, "I'm sorry, that's not acceptable in this home." When you're out on the street doing whatever you're doing with your friends, you can listen and entertain yourself in that way if you must. It's not acceptable, but you don't have control when they're outside of your home. But once they're inside of your home, you can choose not to have those things.
Yeah, but against the backdrop of austerity cuts, where the community is not supporting the children, because it's one thing to say that then the parents have to do this and the parents have to do that. Then we can also say the society has to do this for the parents in order for them to carry out their job properly. This is why we gave the rights over to governments, so they can handle the situation for us. Otherwise, we take it into our own hands and handle it the way that we want, or we feel
which would be what?
Well, whatever we feel. If somebody murders your child, then obviously the whys and the wherefores of that murder would be looked into, and if the person feels that because the children had nothing to do, all right, and all the time no prospects, the child looks into its future and sees his future very dim, and they look at you and say, "Well, Dad, Mum, Dad, what have you got?" And it's always that relationship between us and what they really think about us. So if you're a young person, would like to hear your take on it. If you feel that the adults haven't done enough, and as what I keep hearing, that we haven't done enough.
The sound keeps cutting out again.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay. And if it is, as some folks... If it is, as... Well, I hope it's not cutting in and out again anyway.
That's what... I've got 2 more texts.
Okay. Can I read them? Well, for me, in looking into this thing, if it's as detrimental...
There's a text here from Reese. Dion, abuse is not the neglect you infer by the behaviour of a drunk parent, nor not interacting with said family spouse. Really?
Well... We're confronted with a situation that we can't even intellectualize it right here, right now on this show here. You see, it's this bankruptcy of ideas and whys and wherefores. If we don't even know why, and they're our children, then who do we expect to know why? If we can't make a psychoanalysis on the situation and say, yes, this could be why, and if it is to do with austerity cuts, then we should, as parents, should highlight that too.
And we should be able to
instead
say...
of carrying the burden on our own.
Surely it is for every parent to say there's good times and there's not so good times. In the times that are not so good, we can't have what we want, or we have to work really, really hard for it, which is why it's important for you to get an education. Ignore the teacher's attitude and behaviour towards you, and remember that you're going somewhere. It's not a nowhere, a dead-end street, a cul-de-sac, to coin your phrase. We can do that and use different ways to help our children understand that. There's good times and there's times that are not so good. If our children are saying that, oh, well, because we don't have money to give them, okay, all the money in the world won't stop people getting a knife and killing each other. It doesn't stop war. It stops nothing. In fact, money actively encourages it. Not that I have a problem with money, just its misuse. Okay, a text sender here says, 2411 says, discovered the way to put these shows on YouTube, and that is part of the solution. What is the age limit for this show? Because it is very great for people to listen to the show. That's from Burkak. Okay, thank you, Burkak. He says that he thinks that part of the solution is to put the show on YouTube. We're having the discussion on it.
Well, I think the youths must see that we have a take on this, and I'd like to hear from the younger folks as to the reason why they think that they have to respond to conflict in actually taking their other youths out completely. People can have conflicts, and they've got to tell us then what justifies or rationalizes the idea that's right there that I'm going to take this person's life. That is all in line whether it is a epidemic. As I said before, knife crime is always a feature of every society. Crime, violent crimes, we will always have violent crimes. As we said earlier on, that when people, choose to sensationalize and categorize, fractionalize these violent crimes, even giving it a different category, like to say teenage crime, teenage knife crime, like it's only teenagers that carry knives.
Or commit crimes.
You know what I'm saying? But has the tabloid not reporting on other crimes, making this look
bigger than what
out of proportion,
is,
and then making the youths and feel that
even more afraid,
right? Because this is the situation. This could also be the cause. Notwithstanding that we have, as I said, come through austerity, we're asked to go the extra mile as parents all the time. Attitudes and behaviour, what are supposed to be shaped in the home, are being shaped outside of the home, and the government's refusing to look at their actions as partly responsible. They don't want to be responsible for this knife, this crime,
alleged epidemic,
right, in Europe, according to them, and Britain being the most violent place in Europe.
Okay, numbers are 07931 276232. Text sender 019 says, no offence, but why you care about the youth for? You look down on younger generation anyway, like a typical sellout elder. Have you heard you before bragging about your slave master jobs, your kids you have? You think you're better than us young gun. You're just a time waste, bro. Hold on. Did you hear that? Yeah. Young gun. Is this what you want to be? Aspire to be?
Well,
see, a young gun.
This is what I'm saying, and we have all these people who seems to know what the problem is and not coming on and telling us what the problem is. If you as a young folk think...
So, hang on. So they think that you're a sellout. I think this is directed to you. They've heard you before talking about your slave master jobs and you kids have. You think you better than us young gun. You just a time waste.
Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and if that's the opinion...
Look how here, us young gun.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say is...
us young gun?
It doesn't matter what you're saying, but this is exactly where we have to find out the wherewithal, the reasons for things happening in our community. And if a person has such insights into things, then they should be...
Welcome, you're live on genesisradio.co.uk.
Yeah, greetings, Sista Dion, greetings, Brother Heru. How you doing today?
Yes.
Greetings, Sister Michaela. Love. How you doing?
Not too bad, thank you. I was just listening and I thought I'd interject. Very interesting show today. I would just like to say, it's just, I think the onus, is on us in regards to the youth. And when we see the games that are being played out, it's just like almost our youth are being targeted, but in a very covert way, and it just, and made up to look like as if to say anything that's happening is some coincidental occurrence, when we see that throughout history, history records the things that we've been through as a group of people, let alone our youth. I think, Tony Blair and his government did a lot to damage the youth when he, initiated Esther Ranson to set up a child line where the children could go and complain about their parents or divorce them or, have some kind of thing over them. It's very reminiscent of how Chairman Mao ran his company, I'll call it a company, when he was waging war against his own people. They had an army full of children, If you can get the children to think the wrong way, then, you're securing their future for yourself, because it's not going to have any benefits for us as, the parents of these people that, these young adults that are dying on a regular basis for no good reason. Hello, greetings. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you very well.
Right. Yeah, I was just saying that it just stands to reason that, we as adults, we seem to be powerless over our own future, which are the children, every day you're hearing some kind of beef. Our children, they're not supposed to be entangled in any of this folly. They're supposed to be strong soldiers, equipped and armed with the knowledge that will cause them to be adults that will have strong soldier children themselves. You know what I'm saying? But it just looks like we're just, I don't know, it seems, whatever is happening, it just seems so unfair. I hear what everybody's saying. I don't hear no solutions, really. Sandra from Peckham, she made some interesting comments, and I think that, yes, everybody should boycott the Channel 5 programme if it's showing the children in a bad light, because it just hypes up the mentality of them. Because remember, they've just got nothing but skunk, and sex on the brain. So, and that new drug Spice, what I'm saying? And, anything nasty, they're into it because it pays now.
But
back
also,
in the day, sorry?
I was just going to make an observation based on what you just said, sister. Also, why do they need to get out of whatever it is they think they're in?
Because it's obviously detrimental. I mean, a few years ago, there was even a story about a youth here that a young girl, she had a little boyfriend, I think he was about 15 years old, and she set him up to kill some next boy. This happened in Loughborough, right? Now, things like that are just sort of alien to us as a, it's supposed to be alien to us. We're not supposed to act like, scavenger savages of the earth. We're supposed to be helping each other, not trying to flipping set each other up to fail or cause each other's demise. Where did that come from? So how come we're now looking outside of ourselves for everything? What happened to the inner, dwelling intelligence? What happened to that for children as well? What I'm saying, when we have these classes to meditate, why don't we invite the children along with us? Because statistics have shown that even in China, if you get them from a very early age and mold them, they'll be excellent adults at whatever art that they become the master of.
I hear you, sister, yet still, solutions for me is like parents becoming parents and doing things like, how about removing the TVs from the house?
That is good, but remember, they're set in their ways now, babe. Sister love, they're set in their ways to the point where, it's going to take a little bit more than,
it's a choice, sister. We all have personal choice.
That will more happen in a European family household.
Well, I don't know, sister, because I know you personally, and you do not have a TV set in your house. You know me personally, and I don't have a TV set.
Damn right, sis.
So how about the promotion of books? Okay, in the home. But they say if a child does not see the parent doing it, They're not going to do it.
They wouldn't be. That's right. They follow what they learn. They learn and pick up very quickly. If they copy, they imitate. But let me just explain one thing. I think it's gone beyond that, Sister Dion. I think that if we were behind the programming of what it was actually on the television, I think would be the solution. But we're not in nothing. All we are is these dumb actors and actresses, or singers and performers, entertainers. And when we check it, we're seeing them push something on us which is so unforgivable that it's unbelievable, which is a complete case of inside out, upside down madness. You understand? And this is what they're pushing on these tellies. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, my sister. Every single soap opera has got a homosexual in it, and I'm not fighting the homosexual, because I've got this tendency to, love the sinner and hate the sin type of thing. You understand? They can do what they want. As long as they don't bring it to me, I'm okay. Yeah? Now, it's also pushing transsexualism. Now, I ain't got a problem with that either, because these people are big, grown-ass smuddies. But I've got a problem when they're concentrating that energy and focusing it on children, and you've got a big wave in these so-called tranny children or transgender children, and they think that they want to be female or male if they're the opposite sex, and it's not even the case. They've been so caught up by the system that's plugging this bullshit. Sorry for swearing, but I just feel that expressive today because it's so important. They're so caught up in the mediums throwing this at them, whether it's television, radio, internet, newspaper, magazine. It doesn't matter, whatever medium. Like throwing it at them, and they're succumbing. I'm talking about from the age of 3 years old, yeah? And psychologists, psychiatrists, doctors, they're all saying that, it's a normal thing for these people to be caught up in this kind of, when I say people, children in this kind of retarded behavior, right? It's a normal thing. You listen to what I'm saying, normal thing. When other experts who are not stupid, who have done the homework and the maths, are saying that, no, man, these children are suffering from some kind of autism. You understand? That's just making them, and the wickedest thing is by the time they reach about 11 years old, 80% of them grow out of it. So, they're going to get all of these hormone suppressors and blockers to change them from going into the natural genre of, gender that they were born into, and morph them into something else. But it only works temporarily. Have you seen how these transsexuals age? How ridiculous.
So, sis,
literally.
So what do you think the solution is to this?
I honestly believe we need to get rid of all of these people that are sending conflicting messages to our children. If we're saying one thing and something or somebody else is saying another thing, well, then therein lies the problem. Yeah, we have to, as I said, when we have these classes, we have to invite the children. Because we have to show them that they're worth so much more than the material that they've put their faith in.
So
there's so much more to them.
So, sister, I love what you were saying about there's a conflict between what goes on in the home and what happens outside of the home.
Yeah, definitely. Because, sorry.
Go on.
No, I was just saying. Yeah, one woman. I was listening to a TV. No, sorry, it was a radio program with a lady called La Tava, and she's dealing with African female empowerment. I'm not no feminist or no woman's lib nothing, but I'm not stupid either. Yeah, and she was saying, somebody actually rang in her show and was saying that they got a child and they did everything right, everything correct, proper by the book. And as soon as this child reached puberty, the child was just taken by the street, and it's the same men that, are fathering these children, that are encouraging them in the next breath to do, whatever's outside of themselves. So basically, it's like they're growing up into a trap. You understand what I'm saying? Where everything's just there waiting for them when they reach a certain age. Remember, they're very impressionable.
Yeah.
After a certain age, and if we haven't got no control of them in the house, how do we expect? Remember, a lot of these children, especially young boys, are being raised by single parent households. Yeah, and the problem with that is, especially when we're dealing with young boys, is that a woman can take a child's upbringing so far. You see, when a child reaches puberty, a boy child at least, it's a man that has to take that child when the child's about 15, 14, 15 under his wings and teach that boy like an initiation process to be a man from boys to men. Women cannot teach boys how to be men.
Right.
I don't know where they think they can or how they get it in their head, that's even a possibility. It's a ridiculous assumption. Yeah, it's just like a man cannot teach a young lady how to be a woman.
True.
Understand? So
True.
we have conflict.
And that there is something that needs to be addressed. So that's, it's not looking good for our counterparts, our equal and opposite. It's not looking good on the stage when it looks the light shed on them, because it looks like their ability to respond and take responsibility for the youngsters is lacking in some cases. How do we...
I think it's just laziness, isn't it?
You think it's laziness?
Well, it's got to be, because if you're a man and you've got, testicles, you all right, let me give you an example. I mean, look, if I'll go back to the transsexual business, yeah? Imagine because they're trying to make equality for all transsexuals, yeah? I don't got a problem with that. They do what they want to do, yeah? But if a woman who's not a transsexual has an altercation, just say a fight with a transsexual, no matter how the transsexual look all dragged up and prettied up, the hair, the eyes, the whatever, the nails, just look on the surface like a woman. Technically, if they had a fight, that's a man fighting a woman. You understand my point? Technically, let's tell the truth. You understand? So
it's not even a technicality. If you don't have a womb, you're not a woman. And if you don't have testes and
you've
going
never
out,
had a period. What does that mean? You've never experienced
but you're
giving birth.
Yeah, but you're assuming that there's a child in that kind of relationship.
But there is, because they're
born,
all over the place.
There's no child that can be born into that kind of relationship.
Yeah, of course there is. Listen, you've got You've got children being born into all kinds of relationships nowadays, especially in America. Some subjected to some very weird experiences as well, and behavioural patterns, because you've got we're literally living in an age where two men are raising a child.
But that child couldn't be born into two men relationship, could she?
Yeah, no, it can be. Listen, this is what I'm saying. Listen, you're not listening. Listen. The child is born via, obviously, a surrogate mother, and then handed to these.
That's
two
right. So
men,
it's not born into
women.
the family.
But it's born for.
But it's not
them.
born into
Literally
that.
born for them. No, obviously it's not biological. Yeah,
right.
and then again it is, because oftentimes they actually take the genes, the eggs, and they literally, the child is biologically at least one of the parents. Elton John, look at him. He had a surrogate baby. It's his child. They used his sperm. Do you understand my point? So I'm saying I ain't got a problem with this. It's just that the confusion that these environments bring is ongoing and devastating.
Along with all the other pressures of life as a person.
So
how does
of everything else?
So say for instance, because we don't know the situations with all these knife attacks. So say it's someone of that ilk, a person who is same-sex relationship orientated, for want of better words, and someone who's very clear about their sexual identity, suggesting to that one, and they react. Do we as parents know how to entertain that subject with them?
I don't get you. Break that down. Say that again, Sister.
So,
let me just make sure I understand what you're saying.
Okay, you have someone who is straight, for want of better words, a young person who's straight, for want of better words, and one who is either transgendering or directly homosexual or gay, and they're coming on to this person who's directly straight. And they defend...
When you say coming on, what do you mean, sexually?
Sexually.
Okay, right.
And that young person feels that there may be a lot of that around, and they feel unsafe or unclear. Is it a defense to have a knife? I'm not saying that it is. I'm just throwing out scenarios.
Oh, you're talking about a scenario where a child could be in.
Yeah,
well,
I've heard of young men who defend themselves on the street for being approached by people of that way who have wound up in prison for assault.
Do you know what's amazing? Do you know what's really weird, Sister? It's just that I actually heard that it was the objective for these, because remember, these gay people, and I've got evidence to back this up, for the most part, is by design. They're actually being manufactured. Yeah, it's not a natural thing. It's just like the system's pushing it at the moment. And transsexual behaviour. Every soap opera has got homosexual. You're going to find every soap opera with a transsexual. Most of these people that got videos, you'll see a transsexual in the videos. I'm talking about these recording artists. You know, these big recording artists like Beyonce, Alicia Keys. You know, the Europeans like what they call Miley Cyrus. They all got transsexuals in their videos, and nobody feels no way. So I'm wondering about, you know, reggae. Where if they're following America so much, where's it all going? But my point is this, sister. Yes, I've actually heard that it's like an objective of these homosexuals to bend straight people. Do you understand my point?
I hear what you're saying. So if a person feels unsafe, if a young man's out there, all right, and he's been propositioned several times by, could be his peers, people who are in that, have we taught our children the skills to deal with that healthily? Is it a problem? We don't know, because the young people tend not to be forthcoming with their feelings and you know, ideas about it.
I'm reserved.
I'm just throwing it out there because
I hear what you're saying, but this is what I'm saying about Heru. Brother Heru has come with something so precious, and it's just an alternative way of being, thinking, and living. You understand? So if we can get a lot of the children to sort of like focus on this part of themselves, the higher selves, you know, the material self, you know, and know that there's two separate, you know, bodies, and focus on the things that you're able to basically achieve by doing these things. As I said, invite them to the meditation classes or the study groups here. Then to me, they've got more of a way of finding a natural way of protecting themselves rather than having to fight, you know, get involved in any kind of, you know, BS, or you know, worry about anything, because they will just know within themselves they're doing the right thing, know exactly how to operate, because they'll see it before it actually occurs. They'll always be prepared for something like that. You understand?
I mean, would it be wrong for us to? I have a brethren called a physio friend. He does Tai Chi and also stuff and other stuff as well in protection. I mean, would it be wrong to start to train?
Not at all. How could it be? It would be perfect. It would be actually what they need, because we have no protection in this. Remember, a lot of us have joined forces with the enemy, so we actually don't seem like we have an enemy no more. You understand? But we know that the enemy really lies within. Because, of course, martial arts will be a brilliant way of self-defense.
Because that also teaches discipline as well. You know, you've got to be disciplined.
Definitely, self-discipline. I mean, you're not going to go around This is why. Let me explain something. This is why you've got countries like China, Japan. Look at them, how militarized they are and principled they are. Why? Because they're dealing with discipline. Do you understand? We just not have none.
Because then we're almost to the point now where we're thinking then if knife crime is a feature of our society and youths,
permanent feature as well, and gun crime too,
and youths are walking around with knives. And again, it's not really to sort of feature on the youth, because I don't personally believe it's as epidemic as the tabloid would probably want to sensationalize
running with it,
right. But if that is the nature of it, then to counter that, right, without looking at like you're fueling it, wouldn't be to train your children how to disarm somebody with a knife. Then you see what I'm saying? I mean, that may look
definitely
combat lifestyle, where we have to train our children to, if someone's got a knife, you know.
And you see what the problem is, again, Brother Heru, is that a lot of these children actually see walking around with knives, you know, getting little scars, even getting shot as a stripe. When we now sort of do things as adults or their carers to show them that it's no behaviour to be proud of, then we're going to be basically working and changing things. Other than that, you know, we're up against a flipping brick wall.
This is it. See, so we're looking for orders to save our children's lives, since the government ain't coming up with any solutions, since they don't think, because of their the cuts, you know, and all that.
I mean, they've got so much money. Look how much money they've got pouring into this, that, and the third.
That's right.
And the most urgent thing ever, you know, our children's lives are at risk, and they're at war with themselves as well as wherever else. And they're not funding nothing. They're just making it look like they're doing something because they print a few leaflets, say a few things on telly, but nothing's really happening. It's for us to take the mantle up.
And they
because they're our children.
And they are slashing as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pardon the pun. They're slashing, right? And then and we're having to pick up the pieces. I mean, we try it. I reckon we as parents try our best, you know. But with all the slashing and the cutting by the government, leaves us, you know.
Yeah, we have to find pleasure in small things, like a book. do you see what I'm saying? You know, you can go to the library, get books. You can buy magazines.
You see, Sista Dion, because of the dumbed down culture so fashionable now, books is out of the equation.
That's right. It's going to be.
They prefer, a spliff. Give me a crack spliff, which I call green crack skunk. Give me a spliff instead. Where's the homies at? Let me hang out. They don't want to read. We are the ones that have got to produce the magic to make it reading fashionable again.
So if we did a combat then. Of army of children who know how to disarm.
Now you see again. This is like the use of the word army makes it sound like.
Well, I mean,
but we are at war.
You know what I mean?
Do you know the whole point is how to move away from that status?
Yeah, but it's true because you're right, sister. Because it's all about
you can't be saying one
this
thing.
This is what I'm saying.
Else.
But at the same time, right, all I'm looking at is that the fact that our children are dying. They've got no protection.
And it's a big thing.
They've got no protection against that.
None whatsoever.
Right?
None.
So we have to put up a death then.
And we sort of like let them down, because we're the ones that are supposed to have that thing in place for their protection. But yet we have elders, big old greasy back, grey back elders that are actually funding the madness and encouraging it.
That's right.
That's right.
So it always makes me feel like for me to survive, at least I should know how to disarm somebody who comes to me with a knife. And would that be viable? Would that be a viable thing?
Of course it is. There's a 7-time world martial artist who goes unrecognised and who teaches it still, who adapts styles to everyone and actively encourages women, come in your party clothes. No, I don't want you to wear trainers and tracksuit because you're not always going to be in that. I want you to be able to do it on the move.
How you are on a regular, everyday basis.
He says, wear your high heels to my class and your makeup. Be as you would when you go into a club. And I'm going to show you how to defend yourself.
That's right. Not to attack.
To defend yourself.
You see, in the meantime, the government thinking about it and getting their solution to see what they can do. Obviously,
and they've been doing that for a long time.
Right, and all they're doing is slashing.
And the classes,
cutting.
They're cutting.
The classes that I went to were to your pocket. So if you were working, it's a different price to those who are not working. It's different for young people because it is a skill.
What was it called when they give you a discount rate?
Discount according to. It's not about being.
That's the word.
And hello, it could charge like £300, but he's choosing to make it accessible to all the community. There was a very successful class. We came in our party clothes, our high heels, and our short skirts. All he said was wear some shorts underneath, and I'm going to show you how to attack a man in your high heels. Not attack him, but to defend yourself if you're being touched or held or you feel uncomfortable. Okay, and there were some very, very, very good tips, and it was proactive like that because we practice on each other. Do you see what I'm saying?
Beautiful. You see, when you're talking about defense, Sister Dion, we have to acknowledge that right now what's going on is, because it looks like we're just warmongers that are just attacking because we've been actually accused. Yeah, but it's not. It's somebody or something is attacking you generationally anyway. Nobody can't fault you for actually being in that self-defense mode. It's a natural reflex.
It's a natural
defend yourself.
And to know how to do it. That's even more important.
To know how to do it.
If you knew how to do it, you wouldn't have a need for an externalized weapon.
But here's the thing,
That's
though.
right, and you wouldn't need. No, she's so correct because then you would have nothing to prove. Because most martial artists, do you know that they can actually their body becomes an actual weapon and they can kill with whatever part of their body. And guess what? For the most times, when they actually find themselves in a problem like a fight or something, they actually try anything that they can not to fight because they know that if they ever did fight, they would have killed the person.
Right,
exactly. So hold on. Our children feel unsafe. They feel very, very insecure when they leave their homes. Why are we not investing in this thing? Because it does exist. It is out there. I've done the course.
I think it's deliberately, there's an effort to deliberately, push our minds away from these things as solution. We're supposed to be always in a rut of indecisiveness and hopelessness. You understand?
And let's face it, our children won't want to go to these classes, but then I think that's where we can put some parental pressure to bear.
Yeah, but it's for us to make it sweet for them.
Yeah, but I think, not only that, I think we should also attend them ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because
we attend them, we must invite them.
Yeah,
the classes are for all ages. You work with each other.
Because we may be...
incentives. Listen to this. Incentives is a good thing because, as I said, what Europeans do when their children are messing about, what they do is take things away from them, and that normally works. You understand? That's not going to work with our children. Our children are too set in stone for them mentality there. But what I reckon will actually work, is when you make things sweet for them. You understand? When you give them things where, they would have never, show them what they could learn. You make it exciting.
But the thing about it is...
how to take someone down to the floor with one hand.
Yeah, but the thing
your
about
left hand, even if you're right-handed. How to take someone down.
Having a knife.
This is what I'm saying, because...
It's much better to me. You get satisfaction because you did that off your own back. You never used no...
Yeah, but hold on one sec. If we look at it this way, we ourselves as adults may be confronted with the same problem one day. We could be surrounded by youths with knives. And if we can disarm, if we learn how to save our lives, it's a self-defense mechanism, as you said, right?
Definitely.
And we can bring
when I was growing up,
the whole of our household should also be
know how to defend
trained.
themselves. Yeah.
But let's fear, right?
agree.
Because remember, they're threatened, so they've got to scramble hypothalamus. Because there's only one thing
definitely.
So they're going to be in the fight or flee mode. And the discipline...
It's not like these youths don't know how to fight, It's not like they really actually do need the guns or the knives, because they can fight. Because I'm hearing all these stories about how when they're ready to go and rob people, especially old women, that hold them up strength for them. You understand? So it's not like as if to say the kind of like they need the knives, they need the guns. It's just, to me, it's a part of what's... We see with America is the most destructive place on earth. And I could say now...
No, it isn't. Britain is. No. Britain is.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about with what people follow. Yeah, England's the head of the beast. America's the belly of it. But what I'm saying is that they've got a nasty little trend-setting agenda, and people are on it. Yeah, and it's very destructive. And if we can get their heads off of America, if we can get their heads off of anything that's not conducive to their well-being, I think we're on the right path.
Well, look at it this way. The problem in our community, according to the statistics, is knife crime. This is what I'm saying. This animal they call knife crime, right? According to the tabloids, we're dying daily. 10 people died, and they're reporting on it. You see what I'm saying? What would happen if they didn't report it?
It would still happen.
Well, it would still happen.
It would happen under the
but half of us wouldn't know.
The featuring of it would be a different.
Remember, already we're already desensitized to our own pain, because even if we did know, what are we going to do about it? That's the question.
Well, the thing about it,
a lot of us know what's going on, and a lot of us can just, shake our heads and say it's disgusting.
Well, violent crime is a feature of every society, right? This is what we're saying.
Definitely.
We don't want to over-egg the pudding here, and we don't want to trivialize it neither. You see what I'm saying to you?
No.
Or under-egg it. But the thing about it, we're trying to look at this so we can have a sensible approach in it.
Anyway, Heru, I'm gonna listen offline. Brilliant show. Keep up the good work.
Enough respect. Bless up.
Right, bless.
So, as I was saying, I mean, if we can get to a point where we realise then the government ain't doing much about this, and still our children die. You know what I mean? And again, we know violence is a feature of human society. In every country you go, you got violence. So we're not trying to say we can be pristine, clean of violence, or we have no violence. Right. So as to the actual scale of the violence, we cannot prove it at the moment, because you can't get any statistics from the government. They refuse to put it out for some unknown reason. If you check that the little thing we read from, the Beyond the Blade, where the brother was trying to say, listen, I couldn't even get no statistics from the government to prove their what the tabloids were actually saying, of trying to make look like it's happening. And he can't get that. He said, boy, well, we got to be, you know, we can know that there's an underhand going somewhere, some ploy.
Yeah, because to write a book
you see what I'm saying?
with clear information, you
Yeah.
need the so-called statistics. But there
Right.
are statistics and there are damned lies, and you can't really distinguish which
Right.
one's which. And all of those statistics can be used and misused as
Right,
well.
to suit people. So at the end
And
of the day,
therefore, it's for us to keep clarity that if we can't get the actual figures as laid out by them, to be able to provide any
to
kind
know
of
where
analysis,
emphasis lie. Is it in our community rife or is it not? Because if
as
it's,
opposed to any other community.
yeah, so if it's not, then we won't over-sensationalize the thing where everybody now is fearful, right, and having to walk with and actually start acting the thing out according to their fear.
Yeah,
They
I feel
start
unsafe.
creating
So I need to bring. I
and
need to bring
and
a
they've
knife
got it on
with
them
me.
now, and they've got the blade on them now. See, and any little mischief come up to them, it's going to be, you know, they can't help themselves because they've been auto-suggested. The belief system of the people, I think, has been deliberately manipulated.
It's absolutely manipulated all
Yes,
the time. 24/7 is massaged and manipulated.
Right, so
You
that
know, it's
means
like when you're seasoning a chicken. You know, you kind of excuse you because you don't eat the thing, but you know when you're seasoning some meat there, you get your spices, don't you? You put it all together and then you rub it into the meat. Okay, so where the meat? Welcome, you're live on genesisradio.co.uk.
Good afternoon, Genesis.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Heru. Good,
Yes.
good afternoon, Sista Dion. Interesting program still.
Good
Thank you.
afternoon.
Definitely interesting. Yes. Interesting program and definitely much needed. But sometimes I just feel like as black people we have our head in the sand too much sometimes. You understand? And just ignore the reality of sometimes what's in front of our faces. You know what I'm saying to you?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately, you know, programs like what showed the other day, you know, though there might be some things where it's acting and exaggerations and all of that kind of stuff, and we know the bigger picture in terms of the agenda and the social engineering, what's going on. The reality is that the social engineering is working to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. First of all, let me ask you, because you and the last caller agreed that you both have no TVs, right?
Yes.
Okay. But do you have YouTube? You have internet, YouTube access?
I do have access, yes.
Do the children have YouTube access?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, because it's coming. YouTube is available in a number of different appliances, right? And,
but the
even
thing
on
is,
smart TVs nowadays, it's on there and everything. Yeah.
the youngest is not of an age where that should really apply. He doesn't feel threatened or afraid. He doesn't have
Right.
have that kind of feeling inside him. He sees it all. Of course, he does. He doesn't show it to me, but
Right,
obviously
well-
people send him things. But he's not affected by wanting to go out and feel unsafe. He doesn't carry any form of weapon or anything like
Yeah,
that.
you see, we're jumping the point. My point was, is that, for instance, it's been identified from a longer time that so-called black boys have done well in primary school, and then when they get to that secondary period, then something just goes
Switches,
drastically
yeah.
wrong.
Mhm.
This is a thing that I've heard
Time and
over the
time
years.
again. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right.
in many different ways. Yeah, people's children have seemed to have regressed instead of progressed. Yeah. Well, it seems like this is the situation, and it's definitely happening with this with the so-called gang thing. And the difficulty in calling people gang, because none of them ain't in gang. They're just amongst people that they know. Yeah? And just like how we would walk up and down, you know, with certain people, but because of how the whole perception is, everybody gets labelled in a gang. But what I see is that secondary schools have almost turned like prisons. Yeah? There's a particular school in Croydon where they got the metal detectors and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, they got the walkie-talkies. It's like locked. It's even built like a prison.
Wow.
Yeah?
Now you see, bro.
They got the ice. Yeah, they got the isolation. Even the words that they use, isolation.
Yeah. Wow.
Prison words.
Yes.
You know, bro, this is the reason why
Understand?
my youngest didn't go to secondary school. He has no experience of it. I made that choice and that
it's
decision.
very difficult.
It's my choice as a
difficult.
parent. It is. I'm not saying it was easy. Don't believe anything, the hype. It is work on a level that's unbelievable.
Yeah, but caller, I want to look at something. So what has actually happened here? We see that because of the reporting, you find out that the security firm can make money out of us. They can get their security people in there, right? And they're using prison terms, getting our children ready to actually go into prison. You know, by having isolation units.
Shouldn't that be a warning then? Shouldn't that be a warning?
It's all part of the penal. It's all part of the penal, part of the psychology, because, you see, because by law you have to have a standard of education, and you have to bring, you have to have your children have a certain standard of education. So this is where you're left wide open to the education system.
You don't have to send your children to school. It's not law.
You don't have to.
It's not a law.
You don't have to.
Right.
This is what I'm saying to you. No, you have to have a certain type of education. Yes, you do.
Yes, I'm not denying that, but I'm saying it doesn't have to happen in that
That's what I'm
specific
talking
building.
about. But that's what I'm talking about. And some people are not able to provide that education. So parents, through lack of being able to do better, i.e., expense, work, and all of those kind of things. You understand? They have to make certain choices.
Yeah, so caller.
That's what I'm saying to you.
Yeah. Well, listen. What you make a very important point is this, because it's the psychology behind it. I mean, how would you feel? Because we never had that experience where we went to school like we were behind bars. You see what I'm trying? Prison, because school meant to be a place open for the public.
Because
right?
you pay for it.
Yeah, right. And when we go, we can go in at any time to see our children. But now
you can't do that.
You've got to be vetted. And they say it's because of the rise in violence. Why you have to be vetted, and you almost have to have a CRB now.
You do.
What do you call it?
DBS.
DBS
you
to
do.
go into school.
You do.
So this is because, for the simple reason that while parents are trying to get closer to their children, the system is spending numerous time, effort, and energy, in dividing the children from you, which they just consider as food. They consider adults as food.
Absolutely.
And they consider adults as children, and they consider that they're not responsible for looking after the children and knowing what's in the best interest of children.
That's so correct.
So if we educate our children on this and tell them the reason why it's important not to engage in any violence because you're being set up. You see what I'm saying? But there's not that kind of education.
Think about it.
That's going to be difficult for them to understand.
This brings me to another point, yeah? This brings me to another point, yeah? And it's the same kind of point as well. It's just an extension. You see this YouTube thing, yeah? Like, for instance, right? You've got, when you look on YouTube now, right, which you might not have a telly.
But you got YouTube, you got YouTube.
You got YouTube.
Which is worse.
Look up some of these songs that these young people are listening to. I think they call it trap music. It's gone from rap music, and what was rap? Rap was
violence.
Like that, rap is like you've got a criminal record, and it's a rap sheet.
Yeah.
You understand? Or it's a rap.
Yeah.
So when you've got a bunch of entertainers or people with ambitions to be rappers, do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
And then you're hearing the criminality that's being spoken out of the lyrics, whether it's real or just fake. Do you understand? And now they put a T on it, and it's now trap. So it's trap music. You understand? And the youths, them are trapped. Literally. You understand? So I see, for instance now, 13, 14, 15-year-old youths them on YouTube Yeah, if you want to see what they were showing, yeah, because I'm aware of the boycott. Yeah, I'm aware of the boycott. But the thing about it, you know, yeah, as black people, sometimes we like to look left.
True, instead of right.
And think that because something's happening on the right, and no matter how much noise it's making, yeah, there's a certain level of pride. Me ignorant, you know. You understand? And you just refuse to look to the right, and you just continue looking left, like an ostrich with his head in the sand. Yeah? So what I'm saying is that on the thing what came on Channel 5, and I'm not saying that it is right, what came on. You understand? Like I said, some of it was acting, some of it is exaggeration, but there's a level, certain things of it is true. But you want to see the program, look at some of the tunes and what they're listening, some of this trap music, what they're listening, and the amount of views that they've had. Some of them's had hundreds of thousands and millions of views. You understand? And guess what? They've turned the school uniform into a dress code.
Really?
This is the mad thing about it. You know, the school uniform is like black coat, black trousers. You know, it's like a black thing, isn't it?
Yeah, but
right. It's like they've turned the uniform into a streetwear.
Yeah, but there's
and
no.
that's around with these youths, you know. You get me?
Yeah, but Caller, there's no explanation coming in from the young people why they're doing these things. It would be nice to have some sort of a explanation.
They know. Listen, Heru, you know as a big man. Do you think they know that they caught up in a trap, my brother?
They don't know. Is that what you're saying?
Regardless of what parents got to say. All I know is this. It's a jungle run now, you know, from school, you know, my brother.
From school age.
Secondary school, you know. It's a jungle run.
Serious.
Yeah? Some youths have got to walk past
serious
certain areas where they got youths. And it's that group there. It could be a road that ends. And certain youths have got to walk past the so-called and next cruise ends. You know what it means? It's even affected where youths go to school. Because some parents are sending their youths out of state, out of borough. Yeah? To go to school. Yeah, because they might look at the schools them in their particular area or their borough.
In the catchment area.
Yeah, as not very good. So what they're doing is they're sending their children out of boroughs. But guess what happens? Some people in their boroughs, in their own boroughs, will be pressuring the youths that's going to out of state borough because he's talking to the borough that he's going to school in. People in his areas in argument or beef or just don't like them people there. So now because you live in this particular area and you go to school in the next area and you're all right with the brothers them in the next area, you become what they call opposition.
But,
you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, but why is it like that though? Why is it like that? Is there an explanation? Why is it got
like I said, when you got to me, when you got the free, when you listen, if you watch like I said, some of this trap music, yeah, on YouTube, for instance, yeah, and then you got like because Tim Westfield wasn't the first, yeah, but some people was playing the music because they got some good tunes. You understand? As a music man, when I listen to some of these young people's music, they got my head bopping and rocking until I penny the word.
Oh yeah, for real, serious.
You get what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, man.
Enough of them is beefing with different areas.
So nothing's changed from.
You understand?
So nothing's changed from the 80s.
So, sorry.
So nothing's changed from the 80s. It's all about postcode, but now it's gone into the uniform.
Well, the thing about it is that when people own so little, yeah, that they'll try to own anything. Yeah, and I just think that as a people, you know, we're conditioned to be consumers and not owners of anything. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
And everybody feels it. I felt that when I was a youth growing up into a big man, and the youth same way feels that now growing up. gang of these youths are walking past betting shops and pubs where a bunch of us are big man.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even a notice them because we are placed bet on horse. Yeah?
Another trap.
Drink.
Another trap.
Yeah? Yeah, another trap. Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. So, for me, you know what I'm saying, it ain't easy. You understand? And it ain't like the youths them. It ain't like the youth them don't want to do better. It's a jungle, my brother, out there. Yeah, and while the parents them is safe and have outgrown certain things and don't understand certain things, these youths got to walk and live it every day. And the reason why enough of them, because they tell me, they understand. The reason why even they would be walking with whatever it is that they're walking is because of these musics and because of the perception.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. And the fact is...
So what about if it seems very hopeless, you know, the way it's coming out right now? It seems so hopeless.
It's not hopeless.
Yeah, huh?
It's not hopeless.
Okay, well,
I would never say that. I would never ever say that it's hopeless.
Yeah, okay, but
never ever. But what we're not doing, we're not doing as people is controlling our images.
Okay. So
you understand what I'm saying to you?
So what do you think?
We're not controlling our images. We're not controlling our business. Listen, business is war, you know, my brother.
Yes, but
and in business we are out of it.
Well, hang on a minute.
That's not necessarily
true. Because don't forget, you know, our youths don't know that we're averaging, right? We're one of the fastest growing economies, and we have a spending power of 300 billion per year.
What do they own, Dov?
Huh?
What do they own? What do we own?
Exactly, because we can't leverage. But I'm saying to you, it's the inability to leverage the wealth. That's all it is. We don't know how to leverage the wealth. We've got the wealth, definitely got the wealth, and if we can train our youths in somehow to think we're not as destitute as you think we are, as a community. Right? Learn them how they can leverage that wealth. Instead of going around looking petty things, robbing each other, right? They should learn how to...
Before you can get to the wealth part, you know, you've got to think about the survival part, and the youth them's on survival mode, my brother.
Because of lack of wealth. Poverty.
It's not even about lack of wealth. Listen, it's about the elders, them. It's about the so-called elders, them. Because even the youths, them have got elders on the street, brother.
But why are they watching the elders?
They've got elders on the street. So they'll have all the 13-year-old, and the elder of the 13-year-olds is another 15-year-old.
But they shouldn't
know nothing, brainless.
Yeah, but they shouldn't really watch the elders, though.
No, but they're not looking. Listen, they're not looking at big man as elders. They're not looking at that.
Yeah, but
you understand? I'm talking about.
Yeah, but
what I'm talking about is for the elders, them, the real elders, the so-called big man, them. You understand what I'm saying? They need to recognize that business is war. You understand? And because business is war, you understand what I'm saying to you? Our youth them is casualties of that war. Somebody mentioned a little while ago about martial arts. I know youth that's good at martial arts. You know what they've done? Show away the martial arts. You know why? They say, and you tell me straight, a youth says, what's the point in all of that? You understand? When there's multiple attackers and multiple knife, you got to be fighting off. He might as well walk with something. And these youths have got, listen, man, these youths have got access to the equivalent of gun, if you like, yeah? Some zombie killer, listen, it's ridiculous, my brother. And this is what some people are walking around with. And I just think that, you know, there's many parents that's even listening now. They got the mum's got hide them in their house. What are you talking about, Heru?
Yeah, they've got what?
They got to hide their knives in their house, in their own household, bro.
Yeah, but at least you would know how. Yeah, but at least you could know how to disarm somebody. Surely that's good.
Multiple people.
If it's multiple people.
Multiple people.
So I mean, if there's 2 or 3 of you trained like that, and you decide to walk around in crowds that can do martial arts, right? It's only countering what's going on, you know. Rather than arming.
Yeah, but you're speaking from a big man.
Yeah,
you're speaking from big man's eyes with certain experience. You're talking about youth that ain't had experience, my brother.
Well, we can share that experience with the youth in a minute. Train yourself to defend yourself.
You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
So I just feel like until we recognise that business is war, You know what I'm saying to you? Yeah, we've got to be able to can employ our youth. We've got to be able to can provide certain platforms for them. Even the fact that a man like Westwood would have a platform for these youths that can get out their tunes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. I feel like that's the best platform to be. You understand? Where's the replacement, my brother? Where's the replacement?
Well, the replacement, they've created the replacement, haven't they? They're able to put this trap music out and call it that and express themselves in that way. On YouTube. The actual forum, the platform's actually there already. Personally, it's not a healthy way of expressing yourself at all. And it's not saying, it says, kill, 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 kill. If you come into my area, if you don't look like me, walk like me, smell like me, do like me, then you're a threat, okay? Instead of looking at, well, why do I feel scared? What are the factors involved in my fear? How can I change that to feeling quite secure and happy? They're not promoting that. Do you see?
That's some of them. That's some of them. Some of them's in the life. Some of them's in the life. Some of them's got whatless parents or parents them that just don't know what's going on. You understand? Because it's one thing. You see, this is where a lot of people, a lot of parents them, you know, even our parents them. You see, we've got manners and respect and everything. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir. And the minute we go out on the street, some of us is the most disrespectful of them all. You know, so I'm saying to you. So having control of your child in the house, understand, and them being out on the street by themselves in this wide world is just two different things. You understand? And I just don't think that sometimes we give the young people enough responsibilities. You understand what I'm saying to you? And enough credit as well, where credits is due. Look, man, there's a whole of even the youth them right now, right? For anybody who see them youths, they're riding up and down on their bikes and ain't got no helmet on their head. That's because and you think you be driving and you be thinking, right, how them youth they ain't got no helmet on their head, and that's because the youths them have worked out. Police can't trouble them if they ain't got no helmet on their head. Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you.
So just
and
rebelling.
just like when we was youth. Yeah.
Just
so
rebelling.
My point is that they know certain things where adults don't know. You understand? So when adults is telling them certain things, it's just like, big man, you're long. You get what I'm saying? Simple as that. You get what I'm saying to you? I just think that, you know, there's far too much blame and emphasis on outside, and I just think that, you know, we should become internal.
Yeah.
And look and see what's going on, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, well, thank you for that. Thank you for the interjection.
You know what I mean? I had some other points, but I think I'm going to...
call back.
leave it.
Yeah, man, if you feel the need, you can call back, yeah? Enough respect. Bear up.
All right.
Yeah.
Respect Genesis.
All the time. You're in tune to Genesis Radio, and it's a People's Talk Show, and the numbers are 07931 27 62 and a 32, and I repeat, 07931 27 62 and a 32 will bring you into the studios. You can also text on that number. So if it's down to us, if it's an internal thing that we've been saying from time immemorial, and we try to compare the differences when we were young and the respect that we had for adults, even carried on to the street as well, because enough times when we were young, we see an adult, we have respect for the adult. But nowadays, you got the youths, them don't see the need.
Welcome, you're live on genesisradio.co.uk.
Greetings, you're live?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Listen good, right?
I've got maybe that's a demon in the community, and that's why I said we wrestle not with flesh and blood,
but with spiritual
wickedness in high places.
And low places.
They hear that? It didn't sound like a human to me.
Sounds a little bit different, right?
Kind of come from the pits of hell. Listen, you should.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful to carry knives and guns. So we know what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with
coming
people.
from someone that sounds like
this is exactly what
one
I'm
of
saying.
our own.
Yeah, well, I mean, it don't sound.
Didn't sound like he
no,
was
you
young.
see, this is it. Somebody
Didn't sound
No,
young.
this is my point exactly. You see, and the more we change our approach and our perception of the world, if we can get our children to change their perception of the world and see things differently, then people like just the last caller there could have no influence. It's like a vampire, isn't it? All that person can do is invite you in. You got to open the door. Those kind of things. As scary as he likes to be, that's all he can do. So we see right there. You see, is that deeper forces is at play. You see, don't go to school, and you must carry knives, and you must kill each other. And that person said, beautiful. You see? So you see what we're up against. And I keep saying this all the time. Right? It's not just a matter of, children vs. Parents and parents. It's more than that. You see, we've got to look above the physical and enter into the metaphysical, the psychological. We can win the war psychologically with our children, if only we can get them to listen or to accept the things that we are saying, because since we are the ones that for them, you know what I mean? There's a lot of things at play in the minds of our children that when they leave our homes. And I've got children, but I've placed successfully, I must say, teachings in them. You see, my children would never disrespect an adult. Like the text earlier, calling me this and that, calling me an adult and calling me... You'll never get my children do anything like that. But when you have children... This is why I said there's no excuse, because how come my children ain't doing that?
Oh, mine.
How come my children ain't doing that?
And there's lots of children who are not doing that.
My son tried it one time, and they have cousins and so forth that are, are in the said thing that we're talking about today. You see? And I've seen it. I'm in Angel Town more time. I come from Brixton. I was reared in Brixton. I know a lot about Brixton, as that's the area that I grew up in. Loads of family in Brixton that sees things differently from the way I do. I asked my nephew one time, he said, poverty-driven children. Peel Them Crew was one of the titles they had for the Peel Them Crew. You know what I'm saying to you,
it's
right?
not funny. It's
no,
just
but
like...
I asked, and he said, poverty-driven children. So they've worked out in their minds, right, at a young age, that's poverty that's driving them to do the things that they do.
So they recognise that.
This is what I'm saying to you. Poverty, economics. Whether that's an excuse, that's another story for another time. You see? But I know the whole of them. I watched them grow. I watched them grow up to bigger. And as they got bigger, they sort of came out of that kind of a mindset. You see what I'm saying? And another one took over. You see? And I saw the ones in Peckham. I've been living in Peckham for 40 odd years too. And the ones that used to be down by Yellow Brick, or when it was St. George's Way, around them ends there. And there's a whole crew of them down on bicycles that ride around the ends. I forgot the name they call them now. There's one in Croydon as well. And then recently was a spate of stabbing in Croydon, and it was done by a Caucasian youth, and an Asian. So that's what I'm trying to picture. Is it just the black youths that are being highlighted here?
Yes, that's
right.
definite. I watched a movie called, what was it called? Oh gosh, something or other, and what's that Indian food? Bhaji. Bhaji, something else. The streets, the Indians, the Chinese, Japanese, and the Yardies, for want of better words, they were all as performing as one group. It was a story, no doubt. So there's things in it that weren't true.
So our children got to realise that they're up against what they're up against. Just up against normal forces. You got the austerity cuts happening, taking away their, our ability to, finance them properly. Then you got voices like the one that's came in there, forces like that one that's probably instrumental in keeping you on the street selling drugs, and you know what I mean? And looking at your parents' failure to do this, parents fail to do that, and children that are looking at their parents as, you owe me something, not knowing that they chose their parents, and that would shock a lot of them. Some of them can't even handle it, don't even want to know about it. Don't tell me that, Heru, that I chose my parents. What kind of
nonsense?
But it is a fact. I know it's a philosophical argument or theological argument for some. I'm bringing it in. Forces is what the children's got to realise, because they're not being taught this. And obviously, I'm going to guard against it at a very young age. We can protect them. I was thinking about, well, if that's the case, when it comes down to our ability or the government's ability to stop killing, they're not doing it very well. If 8 died this week, then what we were suggesting earlier on, if our children, as a last resort, were actually begin to discipline themselves and don't look at school as just ordinary school anymore. There's nothing that us as parents can school thing now like a prison. I suppose we could protest and say we want our schools open, back again where we can just walk in.
Why is it suppose?
It
kind of should be an absolute. That's the exact reason why I chose not to send my youngest to school. Because I went to bring birthday cake to his classroom on his 11th birthday, and I was told, I'm sorry, we can't let you in. You've got to cut the cake up, do all the goodie bags, and bring the cake to the reception and leave it there. I was like, why? They said, we can't have parents running around the school. I said, excuse me, but I pay your wages. I gave you loco parentis. That means I gave you the right to look after my child whilst they're in this building. Oh, no, we can't allow you to go into the building at any point. Now, if I'm paying for you to do that to me, more fool me, not you, because I allow you to do it. Now, as parents, we need to take responsibility. If this is something that we're finding very upsetting, if we're realizing these institutions are having detrimental effects on our children, if the very fact that they cannot walk through different areas is a problem, as a parent, I take responsibility for that. And even if it means I trail you 10 yards behind you while you're en route to school, I'm prepared to do that, because you are the most important thing in my life. I chose to have you. I chose to rear you. I chose to bring you here. And until you can manage for yourself, that's my responsibility. Forget having nice clothes, a 99-inch widescreen TV, the latest vehicle to drive, nice clothes, shoes, hair well done all the time. Those are things that I can choose to sacrifice in the interest of bringing you up correctly. And if you feel unsafe and insecure when you go out there, then I'm not much of a parent if I choose not to acknowledge that thing about it.
There's a lot of things we can do if a child feels insecure out there.
There's a lot of things we can do, why is there eight deaths by knife by our young people against each other happening?
Well, the thing again, as I said before, it's been reported on more So, that wouldn't
make it any the
no,
less.
No, what I'm saying to you, that will happen. That's going on, right? And so, if that is going on, to prevent death, then until we are able to take hold of that situation, once we begin, like we're doing now, we're realizing we can do things about it, and we can see it's coming from a feeling of insecurity, and then we can talk to our children about their insecurities, or their fear of going out there because someone else might be carrying a knife, and it's going to exacerbate the situation. That's why I said, well, if that's the case, instead of removing them from the school and trying to find a school where there's not that, which would be like
needle in a haystack.
That's what I'm saying. So we got to get together as parents, and those when we identify these fears, we see if any other parents have the same problem. Because we got social media.
That's right. Set up WhatsApp.
We can start a WhatsApp group up with people,
parents from the school who may not be,
whose children may be having these kind of anxiety or these fears.
And we can do something about that without even informing them that we're doing it.
Well, we can inform them still, because number one, we want them to be involved. So
no, because which teenager wants an adult parent on the same bus as them?
No, that's not the way that we could have solved it. You see, we can have these meetings of said people who can meet together and in one place, right? And we can then discuss and bring the pupils along when they see the amount of people
that really care,
that it affects as well, not just them.
But there was a march last week, wasn't there?
Yeah, but
there was a march.
It's not a march. I'm talking more. It's not a march, but a meeting. We can have a regular meeting, community meeting, where people can see that youths can see that they are not the only one. They can recognise their problem as being universal, rather specific and personal, and they wouldn't have to react by carrying a knife, who would end up dead in the first place anyway, right? So rather than them arm themselves with a knife, arm themselves, remove the fears, and they can feel confident in themselves. They don't have to a knife or get a gun to defend himself against a gun,
which is which is an oxymoron and a non-entity right there. But how does that make sense?
But if you can, you may
see, logic isn't there.
Yeah,
logic escapes.
Right at
you
the
can't
time,
use the same thing to
defend the same thing. But you see, at the time, logic will disappear.
The logic escapes before that, because a conscious decision to take a knife from home, put it in your pocket, walk out of the door, close the door, and to begin your journey with this act inside you. Nothing's happened.
Well, as far as you're concerned, it's just defence, because you're not going to. I mean, if somebody has done you something, you can say the only way you can resolve this issue is to follow. Have in your mind you're going to kill.
That's what I'm saying. So before it even gets to that stage, that's where it needs to be
arrested. So with this idea, then we can all rally round with this and see how many of our children actually exhibit these fears, right? And we can do something about it. We can then speak to them as a community, and when they're able to discuss their fears, right? And other people hear about this. Is that same?
No. This is from text sender 308, who says parents are more than struggling with life themselves. So what of the children? My friend had to take her 15-year-old son to Africa as he climbed out of a third-floor tower block because she told him he had to stay in. And when she slapped him, he called social services on her, and they're not on her side. They were on his side. So yes, parents, we are in a traumatized situation.
Yeah.
Yet still, it's a bit hardcore, but the sister didn't see any alternative. She's like, right, off to Africa with you.
Right. So that is bringing them in on a different level, a psychology level. Fine. If the government intervene in the family situation like this, and their intervention is one of bias, because they're thinking basically on the side of the child.
This is what she said. This is what it says. And
right.
She slapped him, and he called social services. Okay, and they were not on her side.
Right. So
they've taken away the ability to even discipline your
right. So
children. I'm not saying it was a correct
There's
discipline.
another force. So now our children must know that these organisations are not really there to help them. You see, you can educate your child that way. These organisations are there to take away your parents' power. You see what I'm saying?
Here's text sender 019. He says, "Yo, King, stop talking about the youth them. You ain't got no money to make changes and provide us jobs. I blame you elders. Sit back and collect your pension. You look down on us. Cha! Talk about your favourite football team. Laugh out."
So why don't you come on there and say that? So, no, but that's what they would say, innit? Yeah, that's what the youth say.
I don't even understand what...
Yeah, that's what they say all the time. And I find this like is an excuse, really.
Well, I guess the ability to communicate
it's an excuse.
them.
Because my children don't talk like that. Well, it's what I'm saying to me. So I've got evidence and proof. My children are not like that. They would never, ever. And they're big 30 and in their 40s now. Yes, sir. And they always say, "Thank you, Dad, for being there," you know. Yeah. And they're well-mannered anywhere they go. Well-mannered.
Well, the pathology.
So it's not everyone's a feral. You know, there's some feral youth around.
Yeah, please don't use those words.
Yeah, well, no, because hold on.
This one's got definite pathology.
You know, but you got to identify what it is.
Pathological.
Right. So no. Sometimes, for them to understand the gravity of the way they are, they must get a taste of their own medicine. They understand the gravity. Otherwise they think it's laughable and just flippant. They can say we can't say nothing against them, but we can draw the line and say this is the line here, because we know things work.
This youngster is clearly beyond that.
Well, in a discipline thing, right? When they're coming into discipline, they should know what to expect. If they go to the army, it's the same thing. They're going to look at your whatever. You come in to be disciplined, right? So leave all your things behind, right? And follow a disciplined line. So this is what we're saying. But if the answer is there and it's not happening,
to join the army?
No, I'm just giving an example.
Just put them in.
But the thing about it, it's not. People are dying on the streets. This is our main thing.
Let's get it clear.
Regardless,
youngsters between the age of 30 and 17 are killing each other.
And you see the response now. You don't know nothing. We blame you. So this is the game.
Hold on.
That's been played.
The blame is all about money.
Yeah, but no, they said they blame us old folks, right?
Because we haven't got money.
Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say to you. It's obvious, because when you're in a home, you realise how much money your parents got. When I was in my parents, I knew how much my mum's pocket could stretch to. She couldn't afford the things that we'd like, especially them blazers.
Look,
we got vent.
The youngster 019 is.
I know he's a youngster.
Well,
how do you know if anybody? He could be.
It could be, but like I'm reading what I see.
Yeah, but he's not a
youngster. It says, "See you here again." Looking down. The language is even poor.
Yeah,
looking down on us.
You see, this is what I'm saying.
If
they got that feeling that we're looking down on them, they should know that they can't have any solutions for themselves. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about this today. So their inability to pull themselves up out of the nosedive that they're in.
And we're saying that we care. We're not saying that you're to blame for what's happening.
No, but what I'm saying to you,
we
right?
Care.
That talk about us looking down on them is the excuse that they've been using for a long time.
You have no peas, so it's all about peas.
Well, no, I mean, see them land. I know
what is peas?
I know where they're coming from with that talk.
What is peas? I thought it's something you ate.
Listen, let me tell you something.
No, explain it to me.
No, peas is money, isn't it? But what I'm saying to you is this, yeah? Okay. Like this now. This is the trouble. Anytime a solution is trying to be found, get those who have no intention. It could be anybody. It could be a
99-year-old.
It could be anybody sending them texts.
Absolutely could be.
Because I've seen videos of people who say, this is why I tell young folks, the forces that are up against them. I seen a video and a boy was saying, this European guy was saying, this white guy was saying, I am their daddy. I give them
saw
their
that.
shoes.
Yeah.
I'm the, so it's these kind of forces that we.
If they come and work for me.
Yeah, and if they don't get my food, and he shows his tool. This is what I'm going to do. Now, is that more disrespectful than anything that I'm saying? You know, I'm not going to tell the youths them say, I'm your daddy. I'm going to get your shoes for you. I'm buying it. You better sell my food. If you don't sell my food, I'm going to, they know what I'm going to do. That's the kind of a slave mentality that some of these forces outside that surround our children, you see, alongside with the governmental forces, right? And this is exactly...
And the TV force.
And the media forces.
And the police
so,
force.
And then this is what we as parents are up against.
And the social services force.
So we're in a battle. And if our young folks can just realise this and come on our side, instead of allowing those forces to use them.
We ain't got no peace, though.
You see what I'm saying?
The only thing they really need to commit to is peace.
This is what I'm saying. This is kind of a mad mentality. This kind of that's not real mentality. That is, I don't know where that mentality comes from. That's like that
well,
kind
if
of
you look at that mentality,
retarded type of thing. Because
yes.
if it's small, you talk about peace and the thing, that language. I don't know where that comes from anyway. But the reality is this: if our young folks can know about the forces that they're up against, right? They can then be placed to solve the problem. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't have a clue, and it's so evident by the things that have been said, texts have been coming in now because they hear that we may have put our finger on the problem. You see?
Welcome, you're live on
Genesis.
Freudian slip from genesisradio.co.uk.
Go ahead, caller.
I want to thank the police for being people in 10 billion niggas.
Yeah, okay. What number is that? Yeah.
Of course, because they're cowardly.
Lucifer.
It's an unknown.
I've got a wonderful knack of flushing devils out. Trust me on this. They always come out.
Well, thank you very much.
They come out the woodwork.
Wow. Excuse the language of that.
Yeah,
completely degenerate
demon.
caller.
I'm telling you, and these are the forces that we're up against. We've got to protect ourselves and protect our children. But they've got to trust us enough to lead the way. Regardless of what they may think about us in terms of economics. Look at us.
Yeah, we haven't got money, but we have life.
But let me tell you, the black community has money. We have £300 billion going
and there's
around.
Lots of businesses
right, and loads of it. You go down to Shumat Road, bare African business down there, bare. Right, you go down to Woolwich, bare African business, bare black people business, and New Cross. So we've got so much business down there going on.
Here's one thing
right?
that I did discover. Young people are not ready to be humble. They think because they're young, they can just dive in, go 0 to 60, and they want paying for it. They don't have this concept that I need to learn everything about a business.
Well, the thing about it is, right, it's the decision between gratification, instant gratification, and earning through time, long-term, learning through long-term.
Yeah, that's
simply,
right.
You can get instant gratification. That turn you into a weird person. If everything you want was instant, bam, 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 as you snap your finger, then what kind of person you turn out to be? But if you had to appreciate that you have to work and earn. Earning money, even working for somebody, is not a bad thing. You can have your own business. It's the same way, all great. If you don't want your own business, then you want to work for somebody, then, innit? There's a choice. It's a lifestyle choice. Right? You can have your own business, or you can work for somebody.
Yes, but the business now is
if all of us had business, then where would be the workers?
Point.
You know what I mean? We're going to roll. We all can't occupy that space. Doesn't mean that we can't have people who have good business, to have good people work for them. Look at the Japanese. People work for them for years. You understand what I'm saying? So if we have people, good entrepreneurs in our community. There's nothing wrong in creating a good workforce.
Before you have the workforce, you have to have the good work etiquette.
Yeah,
you've got to have the etiquette.
All
to
that
work,
can be done and trained,
to be
and
industrious.
Right, and that's what happened to the Indians. The Indians always employ themselves. They don't employ anybody else but their own. That's why they can leverage wealth. That's why their wealth passed around in their community plenty of times.
And yet,
you see what I'm saying? But in our community, it don't even pass around one time.
That is because the Indians have a pride about
ethic,
their
a code,
community.
they have a code of ethic and conduct.
They have a culture.
Yes. And they're more than us anyway, so that numerically they're bound to be, because they're more than us. They're one of the biggest ethnic communities
now
England has. And when did they creep in? You see, they crept in nice and
late
quiet.
70s.
Because in the 60s, there wasn't.
70s,
yeah, 60s they weren't around.
They opened the cross from the.
They were around, but we remember those nice little old lady shops.
Or old men shops.
Old white people. The
old European shops that close at 6 o'clock
and
in the
don't
evening
open
to
on
go
a
have
Sunday.
their tea.
Yeah.
And the tea 6 p.m.
And don't open on a Sunday. And a lot of off license used to have the same old little old man and white lady in there. Oh, Mike, what do you want? You want a bear, blah, you know. We were used to all of that.
And then
all of a sudden, even the pet stations, all of a sudden.
It wasn't all of a sudden. They did their homework. They came.
In mass.
They observed, and then they
conquered.
Took it over.
Yeah, and they got loans from banks and their own money, but they reserved, which they saved up, and they
got
came
their family
and
involved,
they bought the councils, they bought the police, they bought everybody, buy everybody.
So you see where the young talk about peace, why peace works.
And it's because we don't have an understanding. We turn in on ourselves, like, you know.
Well, no, because we've been religioned out of our own heads.
Well,
because
you see,
when we went to church, we're not supposed to do that. Serve God.
Well, the thing about that is, right, we suffer from post-traumatic slave syndrome, and there's your answer.
And what was that word that you used? Apathy, not apathy.
Empathy.
No, not empathy. We lacked this word that incorporated about 10 other words, including learned.
So, for us to understand, our children must try and study this.
Learn
study
helplessness, because if you're learning to be helpless
and
by selling drugs for someone else,
right, and inability to,
you've only learned to be helpless.
That's right,
and give yourself a very, very, very short lifespan,
and inability to grasp opportunities that are there in society. We can't see it. We don't want to see it. We're not made to see it.
And with
you see what I'm saying?
You know, the brothers talked about YouTube. It's an extremely good educational tool if you use it correctly. You know, we can all go onto the music and the girls and boys skinning out and talking about hating and killing each other and things like that, but you can also go there to learn how to do almost anything there is. Quantum physics, metaphysics, how to strip a car down, how to build it back up, how to build a tank, how to build anything and everything. Please.
It's on there and all. You know what I mean?
I said it's all there, but the misuse of it is prevalent. It's like, again, handing bombs to babies.
Because our children are not educated in this, the nature of our universe. As long as we don't educate our youth, like I did mine, about the nature of the universe we're in and where we ought to be, then they will continue to feel that and use us as an excuse to say, I'm blaming. They should know how pathetic that sounds. Seriously, it sounds very pathetic.
But when you're in a state of fear, you don't look for the ways to support how you get out of it. You look for the ways how to survive it, and that's a means of what they're doing.
For the way it is for my youth, and when they were training, when I was training them up, when I was educating them about the system, they got well tuned into it, and I said, "Oh, that's why this and that's why that." I goes, "Yes," and even though I never had £1 million day, right? They understood that and say, Dad, I know what you're up against. And because they're big now and they can see what they're up against. And they educate themselves and they smarten up themselves. You know, they don't play into the hands of the system. Because they understand the system, the political culture. Political culture. And what is political culture? It is what a people values and tradition and everything like that. We're already in a political culture.
Yeah, look at it as well too. Our children are not even effective communicators.
No.
Even at the age of 019 says, I'm 21. G, with the letter G. I'm not quite sure what that stands for. You a long ting. Okay.
See?
You can't help us elders anyway. I'm done. D-U-N with the argument. Spelt that right, though.
D-U-N?
Yeah.
It's D-O-N.
E.
You're done with...
No, but you spelled argument right.
Okay, right. Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying to you.
I'm not mocking you.
No, I
Just
don't.
saying.
We don't even know who these people are. Anybody can text you.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is,
if you cannot even articulate your words in a form that is...
So there are forces, like the one that voice, the demon one, I'm coming to get you, you black. So-and-so.
Yeah, kill
right?
all of you. Did you hear that?
Yeah, lovely.
Someone's wishing you
see? So,
to kill each other.
And we got this... Same person. It could be... So whenever we're talking and discussing our business, there's a lot of interest in outside forces
trying to penetrate it.
To keep us in this negative mindset, this deprivation mindset, my brethren used to call it. You know, deprivation mindset, where your mindset is set to fail. Oh, because of this.
Self-sabotaging behaviors.
Yeah, because of that. No, let's dispense with the because of. Because when we were young, we had nowhere to say because of. You never heard us talking about because of. Because we understood our parents. I understood my mother's plight. And even though she used to whop my ass 24/7, there's no animosity in my heart for my mother. Because I understood, I made it my point of duty to understand what she was going through. There's 8 of us. And how she made something out of nothing. Fine, that's great. But I understood, so I can go to my grave now with no animosity in my heart for parents. How many of you young people can actually say that? Why do you hate your parents then?
Over a piece of paper.
No, why? And there's a lot of this happening, I think, in our society. Young folks beginning to hate their parents.
Yes, because of what they are
and
shown.
Hate old younger people.
And guess what?
You can feel the venom.
Animosity. You can feel that real animosity.
Some of the young folks look at us like, you bag of crap.
And look, it's the self-same parents who buy it. You know, first rule of when my son started to go to school, I said, "Do you see this red door? This is my castle, and you're a prince in my castle, and the clever black prince. I'm the queen, and you're a prince."
Right.
Okay. When you see this red door, remember yourself. Whatever you do while you're in school, it's what you do in school. And Miss rules the school and the classes, but Mum rules this house and this home. Until you're able to manage for yourself. Then you're free.
Well, you see, our youths would do in the same way you trained your youth. We should also be training our youths now to say, listen, the black community is not as not as bad as it really makes out to be. We average on 300 billion pounds of spending money. Now you have to try your damnedest.
Yes, this is a really good point.
To find how best you can begin to get some of that wealth. You don't have to thief it. You don't have to kill nobody for it.
And you
spend your energies trying to. This is great. This is a great time to be, because if you discover how you can leverage 300 billion pounds, you'll be the rich.
You're
what?
Billionaire.
I mean, what they say now is the Asians affluent. The Asians are affluent. The youths are affluent, driving. You know, and you do see them. All them flash cars the Asian youths are driving. because they know how to leverage their own wealth.
Yeah, when
they weren't relying on nobody else.
Do you remember when we used to be at see that Indian guy and his sons were in the shop with him doing their homework, serving the customers, and I'm not talking about. Were in the shop with him, learning the ropes and doing their homework. There was no, I can't do this because I haven't got a childminder to look after my child. No, the children were there, seeing how the money worked. Because no doubt he explained to the children that when I get this, see how I have to work to get this to give to you. So guess what? You have to participate in that as well too.
All that money is bypassing us. All that money is bypassing us. Now, if the youths were really clever, instead of getting themselves into problems, they would try to find somewhere to leverage all of that wealth. Spend your lifetime. 300 billion.
300 out there.
Floating around.
Okay, here's something which is
you won't get imprisoned for it.
Seems quite true. Text sender 308 says, "I think the youth are depressed and they don't even know it."
This is what I'm saying. If they're depressed, they need to just try and get a listening ear a bit. Trust us. Don't listen to those other forces that want to tell you don't trust the adults. There's too much of that going around in our community as well. So it's self-defeating. I told you that we're up against a whole heap of different forces that are fighting against us, even within our own community that don't want to let you realise, right, who you really are. You see?
No one's... Text sender 019. I think maybe you must be tuning into something else because it says, "So delusional. My peeps... are dying on the strip, and you are talking crap.
Well,
that's why I can't listen to no elder. We are the next generation."
No, that's a fake.
You grassed out.
That's a fake.
Asian youth sell drugs too, dummy. What you know?
Yeah, that's a fake. That is actually somebody acting like that. Nobody would spell words like that. That's probably somebody I know from else. You know what I mean? Somebody that's trying just to... That's all fine. So 019, we waste time reading any texts from that number again because it's a waste of time. It's like somebody trying to... This is what I'm saying to you. Now you can see what we're up against. You can see it's not just straightforward as we think it is.
This person deeply depressed.
Yeah, that's not even... That's probably somebody who's just deliberately doing that. What I'm saying is, if we can leverage... We can find a way together to leverage that £300 billion of spending money affluent as any other community. 7931 62 and 32 bring you into the studio. The detrimental behaviour, the self-destructive behaviour coming from what Dr. Groves says, it's a trauma. Our behaviour is like on the plantation. We don't even know how behaviour is like that. You see? And if we get educated, if we carry our families into re-educating ourselves to realise this trauma and this hurt and pain that we're feeling and the response that we're giving as to the response of the society to its environment, our response needs to be checked to see whether we have the right response. Are we responding properly or are we responding stressfully? I think that's what it is. Our response is tainted by the response that we had towards slavery. According to Dr. Gray, it's been generational trauma. It's been passed down from parent to parent. It's so evident. It's so evident why we cannot leverage all of this wealth.
And as well too,
you see,
the truth that we're very easily distracted, and we tend to galvanize behind someone who likes to shout a good talk. You know, we feel like, oh, they've got passion, they've got energy, they must be right. And then we find...
Well, until we deal with this trauma, until we can clean ourselves of this trauma, we'll be in the same position this time 20 years from now. Because it's a cycle. We have got to break the cycle, isn't it? And the only way that we can break this cycle is to face it together as a family, as a community. We can hug each other. We are experiencing trauma. We need to
acknowledge it.
And we need to bring that to a closure.
Accept it.
Yeah. And
change it.
And look at what Dr. Gray says. Get Dr. Gray's book.
It's not just her. Many people are saying.
Yeah, but she's the one that's intellectualizing it, because she's the one that formed the phrase post-traumatic slave syndrome.
But there's also Dr. Frances Cress
Yeah,
Welsing.
but she's on a deeper level. But
Dr. Ben.
This is one on a more understandable
Ivan
level.
Van Sertima.
Yeah, but that was a
Prince
different
Hall.
level.
There are so many.
But this is on a
you
level.
Can listen to on YouTube.
This is a level that we can understand properly. Because she doesn't the layman terms. I've read all of all them books, Frances Cress, and it is difficult to digest what she's got in there. But then if you're studying for a while, you will find it easy, like I did. But just for the layman terms, if we understand about generational trauma and the reasons why for our wayward behaviour, instead of condemning each other, we can then point the finger to where the problem really is.
And to have empathy.
Right. And we can begin to solve it by following the instructions and getting the counselling en masse. So the next generation that comes won't be tainted with this generational trauma, a bent gene.
411 says, what about the music and games? What about the hate crimes towards our community? A person from a different station says, your health is your wealth.
Yeah, right. So these are all inclusive. They're all behaviours. They're all responses to situations. How we respond needs to be checked. Are we responding correctly? We're more on an infighting thing. Oh, just blame the old folks. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's the way out. The responsibility now that we have as elders, as you so to call it, right, is to share what you think we can do. Wave a magic wand. Yeah, and if you think, well, it's our fault why we got here in the first place, it's easy to say, isn't it? That to pass the buck. Anyone can pass the buck. But the ones that the real men to see the situation as it is and able to utilize their knowledge and willing to listen.
And experience.
Right, experience.
The experience. Come on, because how is it?
You're live on Genesis.
Oh, hello. I was just going to say something quickly and then go.
Yeah, okay.
How about those people who, for example, when they pass university, can't get a job? I know somebody who passed university and she ended up selling popcorn and in the cinema and then going to the car phone warehouse, and she worked there. But that's from someone from my church community. But how about go past university who can't end up getting a bad job, but somebody who he doesn't know gets tricked and says, you want some real money? Get this thing, yeah, and they don't know what they're carrying, and then they end up going into jail for it. And then police comes in. Allegedly, there are some undercover bad apples in the police force, not the good ones, the bad apples in the police force who trick these young youths into carrying something or even doing some stabbing work. Do this, do him, and then you'll get all this money and this and that, and then comes another. So how about that? These are alleged. But because I don't know, but there was highlighted in one show that somebody gets tricked into carrying all this stuff. For example, I can get tricked into it. They can say, well, do you want a girlfriend? Do you want real money? Do you want this and that? And I would believe them and I'll carry that stuff and I don't know what I'm carrying. You understand what I mean?
Well,
and then I'll end up because I'm gullible sometimes. And there are some people out there that are gullible. Don't get me wrong, I'm not stereotyping, but there are people out there like that. So how about that? I mean, that should be covered as well.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay.
I've got to go.
Nice
But
one.
I'm just saying alleged because I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
You
Yeah,
understand?
man. Respect. Yeah, but that's true. But
That is it. But then again, as you said, the instant gratification.
right, and that's why they accept it. They take it.
Yeah,
You know
come
what I mean?
on. Anyone's going to offer you money, all you've got to do is carry this.
Well, you don't know what it is.
question what this is.
Well, you know what it is before you even say it, because it's not candy floss, is it? Otherwise, he'll carry it himself.
Yeah, but Bertrand has a point, because I'm gullible. Someone asked me to carry something somewhere. I'd like, okay. It wouldn't even necessarily. They wouldn't even have to pay me if I'm going in that direction. I've got no problem with taking it. But now that I'm older, I haven't ever done it. I don't think I've ever done it knowingly, or even unknowingly. It could be done.
Well, this is it. So
if someone's offering me money,
but if we say to the young folks, and there's a way out of this, it's not a hopeless situation. You've been set up, you've been used, you've been bamboozled, right, into following aimlessly down the road. How quickly you get caught up into silly things, knowingly it's dangerous and it could lead to something. But do you care? You say to yourself, I don't care. So you've argued with yourself before any decision is made. You've had a big long discussion with yourself, right? And you've added up bits and pieces, right? And you've come to the conclusion that you're going to go ahead with this and then pretend that you don't know what's going to happen in the aftermath. Just the idea of quick money, right, tickles you. You know what I'm saying? So this is the kind of mentality what we call post-traumatic. These are the behaviors that were happening when we were like on the plantation, and our forefathers were on the plantation, and this is the kind of cutthroat attitude that was going on, competition between them. And that passed that down to us now. All we've got to do is wave a little money before our face and we succumb.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Prostitute yourself.
Well, because you think, well, I'm going to be up with the Joneses, I can get a nice pair of... So
for a pair of trainers.
So you've done the maths.
Sad.
Yeah, you've done the maths there, and you come up with the answer, and you go ahead and do this, regardless of consequences. Now, for us as young folks, we had to know that we can't get it, so we have to do without it. And this is what we learned, and this is how we still alive today. You see what I'm saying to you? We may not be rich, but we've got our sanity. You know, we're not walking and sleeping on the streets. We never slept on the streets. I think we've done pretty well, actually, psychologically, to survive at this moment in time. We've done well.
We have done
We
good.
took the system on. I tell you the truth, I told you, we took it on and we've dealt with it. At my age, 61 now, going on. I ain't slept on the streets. I've never been starving. You know what I mean? I haven't been, you know what I mean? And I think I've done well. I've been living at my premises for 40 odd years. My little council flat there, fine. I mean, I may not have... to some people, when you talk about mortgages and things like that, you got to know to get involved in that as well, right? You got to have an insight on that. You know, some people rush and get mortgages just to look good and say, look, I've got a mortgage, but it becomes a millstone around there, blood.
Well, it is a mortgage. It's to death
Morgue.
do you part.
And sometimes it's better off not to have a
Mort.
mortgage. You know, in Western countries, they don't buy, they rent.
Yeah,
Not to say it's not ambition.
France and things like that.
Fine, you can be ambitious, but there's a trap there too. The mortgage trap, negative equity. They don't tell you all about these things, do they? Oh, go and buy your house. Oh yeah. Psychologically damaged. You're live on Genesis.
Yeah, greetings. Fanny me again.
Yes,
Greetings.
hi. Yeah, man.
I was just listening to you, and I just was listening to Bertrand's interjection as well. And I kind of realised that, you know, the sad problem that it occurs, that our youth the crisis our youth are struggling with, is, see, all of these so-called celebrities here will sell them a pipe dream and tell them to work hard, get what they got. So it's all about money, and by any means or every means necessary, they have to get that money. And this is why that youth sent the text in saying, you know, like, you lot ain't got no money, because we don't really have that kind of collateral like the system does to sort of like portray or project its image.
But we have money, sis. We have money.
No, but not.
We've got
at our
300
disposal.
billion.
We just have to tap into.
We've got
that
money.
Niche. I find a niche. I always have suggested that, but immediately we appear not to have nothing, because I mean, who wants to live in a rundown, black-down house? You don't even have carpet. You don't even got no food in your fridge. Who wants to live like that? What do you them see their parents struggling? You understand what I'm saying? They're saying like, no, I wasn't born for this. I was born for more than this, because obviously as a child they were sold pipe dreams and they were told that when they grow up they can have the world. So they're grown up now into this trap and thinking, wow, what the world there? I mean, nothing there for them. So, and what Brother Breeze was saying is so true. You see the music, it plays a very important factor in shaping these children's reality, because it's a fact. Man, it's turned trap music now, but when it was gangster rap, yeah? A youth could sit down in a car, and just listen to this nastiness, this monstrosity, this devil beat, yeah? And then all of a sudden, that's all he needs, equipped him, yeah, with the means to actually take out anybody that his heart desires. What he's actually now getting paid to do, because that's how they make the money. They, do unsightly things. You understand? Nobody has to know. And now, more so than ever, the government's giving money to people who are willing to fight against their own. Simple. You understand? And I think that the schooling system plays a very, very big part, and I really commend you, Sista Dion, for actually homeschooling your child. Brilliant idea. And if we could all take that incentive, I think that we'll find the world an easier place to live in for our youth, because they're struggling how much times, X amount of times, because of the fact that they're born in the system's eyes, perhaps the wrong colour, or they're, male. Even the girls have got it bad. But I think the schooling system has a whole leap to do, because I was hearing stories about how they want the children to start coming to school at like 7 o'clock and leaving around 8.
That's
and leaving
right.
around 8. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's a Hegelian system where the school, is your God. It really does tie into this transsexual rubbish, because it's about words and how they are using words, because now they want to take away the word mum and dad, the words mum and dad, and replace it with parent 1 and parent 2. They want to call women menstruators to make these transsexuals feel comfortable. And as I said, I'm not knocking them, I'm just saying this is what they're doing. But in school, like I said on earlier shows that you two have been involved with, to me, it beggars belief that nobody is looking into the fact that all of these children, especially in secondary schools, they group up and they're in an environment where they swap each other's culture. So basically, by the time the schooling finishes, if they're not staying on for sixth form and they leave the school, everybody's got the same language. Everybody's got the same sentiment. Even though it's only the African youths, it look like are involved in, fights against their own self, because you don't really hear stories about Europeans killing themselves on a teenage level, or do you hear things like Asian youths getting involved in the same things our youths are involved with? And this is why, hence, I said before that if you put them all in a room and turn the lights off and tell everybody to start talking, you will not know which one is African. And the same way that Brother Breeze was saying that these schools are now become prisons, I totally agree, because in certain schools, they've got metal detectors, youths are coming into schools with guns. I mean, you're going to tell me that that's what the lengths you're going to have to go through to allegedly protect them, when you could spend money and make sure that these youths are thinking positively in the first place, why they wouldn't. The point I'm making is that the government, if they really wanted to, and I'm talking about the governments of every country, if they really wanted to, they could easily stamp out, this gun and knife crime. But if it's meeting a certain objective, you understand what I'm saying, then the blind eyes, are turned.
Yeah, but see, sis, what we must really realise as well, we got to tell our children, in this environment that you find yourself in, you need to learn economics, learn how to learn economics, learn business, learn these things, because this is what Asians do. They learn.
I agree, and definitely. But you see, Asians haven't got the same fight that we've got. I'm not trying to play the victim here, but I'm just saying that with us, it's a scenario of pulling and pushing. What goes in just goes out. You understand what I'm saying? We can't retain it.
But we got to start forging a way through that. So you're not just accepting. We have to forge a way through that. We have to forge our way. Tell them what they start doing. Tell them the money is there, right? But you got to find a way how to get it.
Yeah, it's all uphill though, my brother. Because look, when they look at how
we've kind of let them down in the past. They ain't got their confidence in us is zero.
We haven't let them down.
No, well, this is how they're looking at it. We know we haven't let them down, but they're looking at us like they can't trust us or they can't relate to us. This is why Dion was saying about, would the youth want to be on the bus with his mother? They're kind of like ashamed of us.
How did they arrive at that point? We want to know, how did they arrive at that point, though? They must look into themselves.
Well, we kind of... You see, we have to get them out of illusion. That's what the brother was saying, that, it's internal. We have to get them away from outside objectives and get them to remember themselves.
This is why we said we should have communal meetings where where the youngs are involved with us. We're not leaving the young out. We can show them, tell them together as a community, this is what happening. It's not that we failed you. You're in a system that is against you.
Okay, but if you got it in your head that the system that is against them are telling them that we are the actual ones. You see the text that you got where the woman said that she has to send her child to Africa, because it's the same thing that I was talking about, Tony Blair getting Esther Ranston to have a child line. You understand? So that the youth them can go and complain, about their parents, divorce their parents. I mean, come on, man. Will a mother ever lose its love for its child? Never. So, therefore, who's trying to separate us?
Right. Those are the forces I was speaking about earlier. So they've got to be clued up. Our young people should be clued up now and see what's happening to their parents. And
flogging a dead horse.
And they're going to have to face it. They're going to face it when we're gone. And how are they going to face it then?
Yeah, but you see, it's the confidence, the zero confidence that they've got in us. This is what we have to take time and build up. Let them trust us again. You understand? We are not, trying to demise their downfall. We have their best interest at heart. Let them trust us again. How are we going to go about, forming this trust? Well, when the system throws out every day on every medium that exists.
Well, you're
you're your own man. You sell them pipe dreams, as I said.
Yeah, but you're talking you're talking about youths, not my own youths. It's going to be other youths that don't trust me.
No, but I totally, I'm in agreement with the sentiment that it takes a village to raise a child. So every child is my child. I have to see it like that. I've got 4 sons. Yeah. They range from the age of 27 to 18.
Yeah, but
sorry?
We're not in a village, really. You see,
No, that's not the point. I'm talking about it's just a
I know,
saying.
But we should
Meaning, what it means is that we have to look out for each other. Yeah. I can't be here struggling with my sons and my next door neighbour is, watching me struggling with my sons and don't try to do nothing help me if I'm struggling. And the same thing with me. I can't see my next door neighbour struggling and not going like as if to say I'm not part of this, global community or even local community. I can't do that.
Yeah, but listen. See that being that's altruistic, right? What I want to say quickly to you is that that's altruistic in saying that about your neighbour. But some cases you get involved in people's business, right, and you end up worse than it was before because
I understand that, and I totally agree because some people. No, it's true. You're right, but no, don't forget. Sorry, my brother, I'm not cutting you, but don't forget that this is how they want us to live. That we don't get involved in each other's business, so that anything happens to us, we make it look like it's an individual thing. That time it's acting on a collective basis. You understand? And then that's how we stay apart. We have to come closer.
But we can get around that.
We have to include the youth.
Yeah, but we can get around that. We can get around that. I mean, it's not that.
Yeah, of course.
It's not the same nature as Africa or in a village. We're not in that now, but we can still. We can still. As I say, no point in applying the village mentality in a city. You know what I mean? Because it ain't gonna work.
Don't take it out of context. Don't take it out of context. What I mean. I don't mean. And I do believe that
it's still community.
Yes, a community.
It's just a community. That's what I mean. But when I say it's just a sentiment, isn't it? It's a phrase saying that, boy, boom. You know what? I don't look at, and this is why I'm so concerned about these child transgenders. Even though they're not my children, but at the same time, they
children.
That could be my child, and that could be my child easily.
Yeah.
And these children, I care about the development of them. You know why? Because them same ones there are going to grow up and be the man and women of tomorrow, causing whatever problems because of these complications that they're suffering from now.
And sometimes they don't even want you in their business and say, "We do the
business." Of course they don't. But it's not about them, though, is it? Really, it's about what humanity has. For your grandchildren. You understand? If you don't want them growing up with all of these crazies there, and you could have did something to stop it.
Yeah, but we don't have to intervene in people's life to do that. We can do that.
No, we don't. But how are we going to stop this gun crime, knife crime, unless we
Right.
intervene?
Now, yeah, we're going to intervene, but we have to know where to intervene. You see what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, that's my point.
We have to
This
know.
is my whole...
We have to pick and
Yeah.
we have to know where to intervene.
I think where we
Sometimes,
need to intervene is media. Media is getting to these children, turning them crazy, making them want money more than life.
Yeah.
I like that. Say that really slowly.
Media is getting to these children, sending them crazy, making them want money more than life.
And with that saying, we've come to...
I'm gone. Yeah, bless it.
Enough respect.
Bless it.
Yeah. So we've come to the end of the show. It's 5:57 and counting. So
we have 3 minutes. I'll
Yeah.
just go through the couple of texts we
okay.
had. Text sender 308 says, there's hardly ones going to be left in 20 years from now or even 10, with all the killing and the other half being locked up and then the few turning gay. It's a very deep situation. So, gosh, there's a lot of things we have to do. Text sender 883 says, for the youth who think we didn't do anything needs to know his history. My parents came here in the early 20s and late teens and walked straight into racism and had to fight. So he doesn't have to. Us born in the 60s had to go through the same thing, from the skinheads to the racist police and teachers and the workplace, etc., etc. We took that hit, so he didn't have to. True word.
Thank you very much for that. It's a lovely text.
Text sender 014 says, the Asians, the Turks and the white boys do sell drugs too. If black women were getting pregnant to black men that want to have children, then they would have a man in the home to assist raising the child. Black women are getting pregnant to men. In some cases, men do not know they have had a child out there or even agreed to the woman getting pregnant. Well, I'll say to that, you're in control of your sperm, brother. And when you choose to give it, you lose control of it. Because possession is 9/10 of the law.
And with that, it's nearly the end. I'm going to say our goodbyes.
Thank you very much for joining us. This is genesisradio.co.uk. You've been listening to and participating in, thank you all callers and texters, to the People's Talk Show here every Sunday between 2 and 6 p.m.
Okay, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow, probably a bit late. I might start late tomorrow, maybe about 12 o'clock. Hope it's been informative for you as it's been for us. This is Heru saying, I am out.